Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the D and WhatIf, with another fanfiction. This is the fourth part of What If Deku Took Bakugou's advice. All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Welcome to your new home. Toga jumps up and down, clapping with excitement while Dabai stares at Izuku with squinted eyes. Izuku ushers the two in, settling on the couch with a grin. I have a proposition for you, Dabai. Toga's on board already. The man grunts in acknowledgement as he walks around, inspecting the room. I want to offer you a place to stay, no strings attached. I know you're homeless, and I know the League of Villains offered you a place to stay, but they're villains, and I know you're better than that. I know it's not much, but you guys can stay here while I'm in the dorms at UA. If you want. Dabai studies at the teenager for a moment, his brows furrowed in confusion. Why would you let us stay here? What's in it for you? Izuku just shrugs. Nothing. I just like to help people. And you guys are homeless just like I was. After a moment of silence, he continues, a bit quieter this time. This place wasn't meant to be empty. It's supposed to be filled with my own choices. It's supposed to be something I created, and I want to share that with you guys. Another moment of silence passes. Why? You barely know us. Once again, Izuku shrugs nonchalantly. I know, but I can tell you aren't bad people, just raised in a messed up society. Why would you trust us? I don't. Not yet, at least. I trust that you're not villains, but that's about it. And that's enough for me. The two others are silent. They look at each other, then back at Izuku. Dabai grins. Fine, it's a deal. He flops down, sprawling out on the couch. Why the hell wouldn't I stay here? Free shit is awesome. Toga claps again, practically squealing. Roomies, I can't wait. She bounds over to the couch and Dabai groans, making space for her. There are some rules I'm going to set down though. All heads instantly snap up, Dabai's icy eyes glaring into Izuku's green ones. I knew there was a fucking catch, he growls. No catch, just some ground rules. Izuku lifts his hands, as if to show his innocence. After a beat, Dabai nods, urging him to continue. His skepticism doesn't leave. First and foremost, no illegal shit. He pauses. Well, no harmful illegal shit. As soon as I hear you guys have been involved with any villains, especially the League of Villains, you're out. You can't attack anyone, can't use your quirks on anyone, none of that shit. They both nod in understanding. Dabai, no smoking inside. I'd prefer if you quit smoking altogether, but I understand if that's too much to ask right off the bat. The older man grunts in acknowledgement. Also no burning anyone, obviously. And don't set any of my shit on fire. No arson. With a sigh, fine. Izuku turns to the young girl next. Toga, no stabbing, no biting, none of that, got it? She groans. That's so much though. That was two things. Okay, fine. She whines. I'll be coming back on the weekends and I can visit at night after my patrols as well. Text me if anything happens. Dabai, I know you're not the most stable person. Hey, the fuck's that supposed to mean? But I'm putting you in charge here. Take care of Toga, she's younger than you. He turns to the blonde girl. How much blood do you need a week, Toga? She tilts her head in thought. I can get by with half a jar a week without going insane. You're already insane, Dabai snorts with raised eyebrows. Hey, that's mean. Don't be a meanie. Yeah, Dabai, be nice to Toga while I'm gone. Toga, if he gets too mean, you can bite him. Try not to draw blood though. Don't let her fucking bite me. Yeah, Izuku cackles at the chaos, and Dabai just glares at him. If I bring you a jar or two a week, will that work? Toga's eyes widen. That would be amazing. Your blood is so yummy. Izuku nods as Dabai looks at them with a weirded out expression. What about me? What about you, bitch? What do I get? You get a fucking roof over your head. That's what you get. Dabai scowls. What about food and shit? Izuku rolls his eyes. Fine, I'll try and bring you guys food when I get the chance. I'm not sure if they provide us with food in the dorms or not. But if they do, I'll bring you guys any leftovers I can find. Izuku's phone goes off and they all startle. It's his alarm. Shit. It's time for me to get ready for school. I didn't realize I'd been gone for so long. The teen stands, grabbing the 3 bags by the door. We're moving into the dorms today. I'll be back tonight to check on you guys. We don't need you to fucking check on us, fuck munch. Yeah, I can't wait. As Izuku leaves his home, a soft smile plays on his lips. He doesn't feel empty as he walks away. He doesn't feel a sense of loss as he did before. His home isn't empty. It's no longer like his old house. Now, it has a purpose. And even if that purpose involves an arsonist and a girl with a penchant for stabbing, it's still a purpose. So Izuku is content with that. UA graciously gave Tuesday off for the move, and Izuku is grateful for the breather. After receiving a tour of the new dorms, the students disperse to unpack. The rooms are already furnished with the basics, a bed, desk, and a low table. It's all Izuku needs. As he carries all his belongings in a measly 3 bags, Kirishima breezes past him with 2 hefty boxes. Whoa dude, is that all you have? Izuku glances at the bags in his hands, then back at the redhead. Yeah, damn, he whistles. I've got 8 more boxes to bring up. Are you a minimalist or something? Yeah, you could say that. That's so manly. Izuku laughs softly as he continues up to his dorm. Setting down the bags, he begins to unpack. He hangs his clothing and uniform in the closet, using only a small fraction of the provided hangers. Moving on to his second bag, he stashes his vigilante gear under his bed, hiding it as best he can. 1 bag remains, and the room is still echoing with emptiness. He hangs up the 2 posters he owns above his desk in bed, arranging his notebooks on his desk, and smiles at the sight. The notebooks take up the whole back of the area, including his hero analysis journals and the notebooks covering vigilantism, his quirk, and his classmate. If anyone reads these, I'm screwed, he mutters with a huff of a laugh. Izuku tosses the empty bags in the back of his closet before heading down to the living area. Hiroraka is the only one sitting on the couches. You finished first too, Izuku. He nods, laughing awkwardly. Yeah, I don't have too much stuff. She just shrugs, flashing him a smile. Me neither. No need to feel bad about it. As the rest of the class finishes unpacking, the common area fills up quickly, buzzing with idle conversations and bored students. Guys, Hagakure bounds over to the group, cheerfully calling out, we should do room tours. We can vote on whose room is the coolest too. This gets the students' attention. Uraraka and Kaminari instantly jump from their seats in agreement. Izuku follows his classmates as they visit the rooms, not paying much attention unless it's his friend's space. Uraraka's room is pretty plain, with a few simple wall decorations and decor around the area. Her bed is the most colorful part, the comforter a soft pink and the bed filled with squishmallows. It's kind of plain. Uraraka laughs nervously, but her friends are quick to disagree. It's like minimalistic. It's really cute. I think it shows your personality. I honestly really like it. Uraraka blushes at the compliments and they move on to the next room. Once they reach Hitoshi's, Izuku tunes back in. The room is dark, the ceiling light abandoned as purple LEDs illuminate the space instead. Izuku has seen this room many times before, but the others are shocked by the appearance. Whoa, super dark and mysterious. Jiru comments, instantly glancing around at the decor. As I said with Takoyami's room, much too dark for me, Monami. Takoyami's is much more emo. Kaminari pipes up. This is just cool. I prefer the term gothic. Kaminari shrugs. Do you just really like purple, or? Hitoshi glances at the lights, shaking his head. I have problems with insomnia, so when I'm awake at night these lights are less harsh on my eyes. The students all nod, satisfied with the logical response. When they reach Todoroki's room, Izuku is suddenly very happy about having room tours. It's very Japanese style. The floors, walls, and even windows already remodeled to fit the aesthetic. Other than that, there's not much to see. No posters or trinkets laying around. It's almost as if he doesn't have any hobbies or interests besides training and school. Almost as if he wasn't allowed to have hobbies other than training and school. Izuku scowls at the thought. After a few more rooms, they reach Izuku's. Shit, can we skip mine? It's nothing special, really. Midori bro, you got to see everyone else's. It's only fair that we get to see yours too. Kirishima cheerfully points out. It's rather boring though, it isn't. Shut it, nerd. Just let us in already. Katsuki huffs, pushing past Izuku and into his room. I want to get this over with so I can go to sleep. The students all file in after the angry blonde, but the room falls silent. After an uncomfortably long silence, Kaminari speaks up. It's kinda empty. Izuku sighs. Yeah, I told you. When's the rest of your stuff getting here? We only had today off to unpack. The rest of my stuff. What do you mean? Momo glances around the empty room. You have more stuff at home, don't you? Izuku doesn't quite understand. He tilts his head in confusion. No, I think what she means is that you have more stuff in your room at home, even if you're not bringing it here, right? Uraraka speaks up, trying to ease the strange, tense environment. Not really. My mattress and couch is still there, but that's it. Along with the broken mirror, of course, he tries to joke, hoping to lighten the mood. It doesn't work. Hitoshi face palms and his friends stare at him in disbelief. All right, let's go to the next room. He attempts to usher them out, but some students aren't quite satisfied with how the conversation ended. Why do you have a broken mirror? No reason. Let's go to the next room. Are you going to bring over your own comforter at least? I don't have one. What about pillows? Plushies? Why would I have those? Your desk is so bare though. Where's the rest of your stuff? Why do you keep saying that? This is all of my stuff. How? Are you going to at least bring the rest of your clothes over? There are like 3 shirts in here. There is no rest of my stuff. I brought over everything I own already. He finally snaps, slamming his closet door closed. Let's fucking leave already. Finally, the class complies, shuffling out of the room with pitying looks that Izuku despises. Not wanting to be a poor sport, he follows the group as they visit the rest of the rooms. But Sado ends up winning after bribing the students with freshly baked cake. Cheating bastard, Katsuki mutters under his breath as he aggressively stabs his slice. Izuku has to hold back a snicker. Finally, back in his room, Izuku cautiously slides open his balcony door, which is much louder than he'd hoped, before commencing his descent down the building. Being a vigilante while also residing in a dorm with a pro hero and multiple heroes in training is not the wisest idea, but Izuku honestly couldn't care less. He bounds across the rooftops, intervening whenever he spots villains, before ending up at a familiar abandoned building. With 2 bags filled with supplies for Toga and Dabai, Izuku is unsure if he should go inside to give them to them. They might be sleeping. He shrugs, slamming the door open loudly as he enters. On the couch, Dabai awakens groggily, hands instantly ablaze at the sudden intrusion. Toga wakes as well, knife in hand as she sits up on the bed in the corner, eyes squinting to try and see in the dim room. "I'm home," Dabai groans, his fire going out. "For fuck's sake, it's 3 in the goddamn morning." Izuku smiles brightly. "Yup, and I've brought you guys some stuff." Toga waves at him, sleepily yet cheerfully. "Izuku, I'm glad you're here." She yawns largely, not bothering to cover her mouth as her sharp canines show. Izuku holds up his 2 bags. "I have gifts. I'll set them over here for you guys in the morning." He places the bags by the couch near Dabai's head, who simply glares at him. "That's all I came here for. Sleep well, Toga." "Oi, no sleep well for me. I personally hope you sleep awfully." "The fuck?" Izuku skips out the door, making his way through town quickly in the hopes of earning some money before he has to return to the dorms. "Back already, Verd?" the bouncer asks as he opens the door. With a nod and a quick smile, Izuku enters the market, heading toward floor 0. It's quirk battles today, so Izuku will gain more money if he wins. And that's how he finds himself in his current predicament. It was all, "Oh, I could gain more money," and "Oh, I could learn to fight against people with quirks better," instead of what he really should have been thinking. Maybe, if instead he thought along the lines of, "Damn, I hope the fighters won't have painful and powerful quirks," or "I better make sure to take care of myself so that I don't end up too hurt," then maybe he would be in better shape at the moment. And so, Izuku finds himself shaking violently on the ground in pain. His lip bleeding with how hard he's biting it in hopes to muffle the screams of pain that escape his throat. Needless to say, he did not win that battle. Izuku was able to injure his opponent. He could have won. If they were quirkless, that is. Instead, they possessed some sort of dangerous quirk that causes extreme pain. It felt like thousands of razors were slicing his skin from the inside out, as if he was being absolutely torn apart with no way to stop it. Maybe it was his bones. It felt like they had snapped, so maybe the shards are stabbing into his insides. He doesn't know. All he knows is that it fucking hurts. And so, Izuku is removed from the ring and not allowed to fight again. With a glare, he drags himself home. He doesn't realize he's going the wrong way until nearly an hour has passed. "Fuck, I live in the dorms now. God fucking damn it." As he turns around, stumbling even with the support of the wall, Izuku resists the urge to kill himself right then and there. Pain continues to flow through his body, pulsing through his veins like a heartbeat as he trudges home. That's when he feels eyes on him. Because, as has been previously established, the universe fucking hates him. Eraserhead quickly drops down beside the vigilante, a worried expression on his face. "Nightfall, are you injured? You look in pain." Izuku can't bring himself to open his mouth, knowing he can barely keep the tears at bay. He's never cried because of pain before, at least, not since he was a child. Eraserhead seems to notice this as well. "Let me help you get home, kid." Izuku shakes his head, squeezing his eyes closed as pain throbs through his body once more. "You're obviously injured, kid. Just let me help you." Desperation seeps into the hero's voice, but Izuku stands his ground. "Leave me alone, please," he stutters out through gritted teeth. They're almost to the dorms. He needs to leave. Right on cue, a loud yell comes from an alleyway a few streets over. Izuku and Eraser are at instant attention, backs straightened and ears listen for more. "You better go help them, Eraser." The hero curses under his breath. "Stay here, I'll be back in a minute." They both know the young vigilante will not stay there. But either way, Eraserhead rushes off to help whoever screamed a moment before. Izuku pushes himself to move faster as UA slowly comes into view. The pain doesn't lessen, but he continues on regardless. Luckily, Izuku is on the 2nd floor, so he doesn't have to climb far to get to his room. He crawls past the windows of the 1st floor, hoping nobody is in the common area as he goes. Reaching his room is easier than he expects, and so he collapses onto the balcony, throwing his door open as quickly as he can. He tries not to let it slam shut, but it does anyway. He can't find it in him to care. The pain seems to be getting worse as the time wears on. What kind of fucking quirk was that? He grabs a knife from his side, not bothering to change before pressing it harshly to his wrist. He pauses. It's too painful. I want it gone faster. He presses the knife to his throat, and in one swift motion, he collapses, hoping nobody hears the thud of his lifeless body hitting the floor. Shouta watches his students as they practice their ultimate moves, but his mind is stuck elsewhere. Last night, he had run into Nightfall during patrol, but he'd never seen the Vigilante like this before. Although there were barely any physical wounds, besides a bloody nose, Nightfall had been in extreme pain. He was trembling as he slowly limped through the streets, leaning on walls and buildings and anything he could, as if he wouldn't be able to hold himself up without them. He had tears in his eyes, and Shouta had even heard him grunt in pain after he stumbled over his feet. Nightfall has never made any noise to show he's in pain before, at least not that Shouta has ever heard. He wasn't able to help the kid home, which was his main regret. After the encounter with a petty criminal, Tsukachi spent much too long arriving at the scene and taking the criminal away. Shouta hopes that since he wasn't able to find the kid, that meant he made it home safely. With a sigh, he pulls himself out of his head, focusing on the students. Wait, if Midoriya is supposedly Nightfall, he should be in a lot of pain right now. He seemed fine this morning though. Shouta glances at the green-haired boy, who's practicing with his bow staff. It goes slightly out of control, smacking into his side lightly. Midoriya winces, sucking in a breath. That can't be him. If he was Nightfall, he wouldn't be able to even stand without the support of a wall, much less swing around a staff. Midoriya can't be Nightfall. Shouta shakes his head, trying to get the thoughts out of his head so he can focus on his job. When he glances back at the place where Midoriya was training, the boy's no longer there. Where did he go? Izuku breathes a sigh of relief as he slips from the classroom. He had signed out to go to the support course for his hero costume, but that wasn't his real motive. Aizawa had been staring at him for nearly the whole class, those tired, blank eyes watching his every move. It was unnerving. If that hadn't been bad enough, someone else was also staring at him, adding to the discomfort. At first, Izuku wasn't sure who, but after a while, it became quite obvious. Jiru had been stealing glances and eyeing him all morning. It didn't stop when they started practicing ultimate moves, the gaze only intensifying. His body still aches from the previous, gruesome day, and with every wince, flinch, and grunt of pain, he felt the two of them watching and observing. It was stifling. He felt trapped, as if he was the prey in some cage. And so, he snuck out of the classroom quietly, making his way to the support room. Before he can enter, however, the door bursts open, emitting smoke and pieces of metal debris everywhere. Izuku lands on his back as a girl falls on top of him. Sorry, my baby exploded. A girl with pink, poofy hair smiles down at him. She has grease and grime on her face and arms, but she seems unbothered. Your baby. The girl looks 16, maybe 17 at the oldest. But Izuku isn't one to judge. Is it okay? She shakes her head, seemingly unfazed. No, I think she's dead. Well, maybe Izuku does judge a little bit. I was making her for one of the students, but I must have messed up the engine. The girl dissolves into a ramble of muttering that put Izuku's muttering to shame. Oh, an engine. That makes more sense. He clears his throat and she blinks, looking up at him. Oh right, what are you here for? I was hoping to get some new stuff for my outfit. She glances down, seeming to only now take in his appearance. With a gasp, her eyes light up with recognition. Oh, I remember. I designed your staff. You're quirkless, right? He flinches slightly at the bluntness of her question before nodding. I was hoping for some new boots to help with jumping and running. She nods enthusiastically. I have plenty of babies that could help you that I've been trying out. He follows her to the back of the room, where she holds up a set of knives. These babies I've been working on for a long time. I incorporated powerful magnets in the handles and corresponding magnets in these gloves. When you throw them, the magnetic attraction between the knives and gloves will pull them back toward you for easy retrieval. Izuku can only stare as she a much-needed breath. What was your name? Meihatsu. Please, call me Mei. He nods in greeting. Izuku, are you saying the knives will instantly return to my hand after I throw them? Is there a limit on the distance? The girl, Mei, nods. They can go for up to 1,000 feet. After that, there's a tracking system in place so you can find the knives in case you lose them. I can show you how to do that. Before she can show him, she spots the retracted staff in his utility belt. My baby. She snatches it before Izuku can protest. I was so proud of her when I finished her. How has she treated you? Is the electric shock strong enough? Does she move smoothly? Is she too light? Too heavy? She's good. Wait, electric shock. What do you mean? She stares at him in disbelief. Did you not read the note with instructions that came with the staff? Izuku scratches the back of his head sheepishly. No, I think I threw that out. Instead of growing frustrated, she just laughs, undeterred. I'll show you now, then. She extends the staff with a press of a button, but after it's at its full height, she presses again. At the top of the staff, a bolt of electricity dances. Izuku's eyes widen. How did you do that? She laughs maniacally. This first button extends it, right. The one below it turns on the electric shock portion. I've made it so it's weak enough to not be lethal while being strong enough to stun and immobilize opponents. If it doesn't instantly stop them, it'll still cause some pain at least. Izuku listens with awe, his mouth wide open as he stares. That's fucking amazing. She laughs again. I know, right? That's not even all. Watch this. With a swift yank on both ends of the staff, after turning off the electric shock function, the pieces fall apart, a chain connecting them in the middle, transforming his familiar bow staff into a dual-ended weapon. He stares in disbelief and astonishment as she continues to explain. This should allow you to wield it with more dynamic and acrobatic moves. You can easily change between long-range and close-quarters combat. As well, you can separate the ends and make it into the chain whip staff easier too. Instead of a button, you could just pull on the ends, but there are certain movements that you can learn that will transform it after a certain type of swing. If that doesn't work, I added a third button just in case. You may. This is incredible. She beams. I know, right? She's definitely one of my favorite babies. Returning to class, Izuku realizes he was gone for much too long. He stops by Aizawa and the teacher explains with an unimpressed glance that they're sparring and attempting to use their ultimate moves during them. Izuku watches alongside the rest of the students as Hitoshi spars with Kaminari. The fight started several minutes before he arrived, but currently, Kaminari is winning. The blonde boy launches himself at Hitoshi, letting a small amount of electricity out as he goes. They collide together, crashing harshly onto the ground. Kaminari straddles himself over Hitoshi, one hand supporting himself on the ground near Hitoshi's head as he leans forward. Electricity dances in his other hand, which is outreached, about to come into contact with the pin boy, but instead, the sparks go out. Hitoshi flushes as Kaminari turns a bright red, his eyes widening when he realizes the position they're in. Izuku steals a glance at Aizawa, who's glaring at Kaminari and snickers quietly to himself. Before Kaminari can get himself under control, Hitoshi bucks him off, turning the tables and wrapping his capture weapon around the blushing boy. The bell dings, signaling the end of the round, and the two quickly break apart. As Aizawa discusses what could have been done better with the class, Hitoshi slinks up beside Izuku, still slightly red in the face. Izuku elbows him in the ribs lightly with a smirk. Hitoshi glares back, continuing their non-verbal communication. With a raise of an eyebrow from Izuku, the purple-haired boy ducks his chin down, hiding the lower half of his flushed face in his scarf. Midoriya and Bakugou, you two are next. Beside Aizawa, the teacher Izuku was very much trying to ignore speaks up. Are you sure that's a fair matchup? I think we shouldn't make young Midoriya fight someone who's so much more. So much more what? Izuku turns on his heel, glaring up at All Might. The blonde hero gives him a sheepish smile. Well, I'm not trying to be rude, but his quirk is very powerful and yours is non-existent. Very observant. All Might. Without waiting for the spluttering teacher to respond, Izuku joins Katsuki in the ring. A few years ago, being surrounded by his classmates in a ring with Katsuki would have him shaking in his boots. But now, Izuku grins. The crowd doesn't bother him anymore, and Katsuki is far from scary. Of course, he could never tell his friend that without getting smacked over the head. Izuku isn't sure whether Kats would try to convince him that he is scary or that he never has been. The bell dings, signaling the start of the fight, and Izuku wastes no time. He charges forward, aiming a roundhouse kick toward Katsuki, who dodges and grabs onto his leg. He attempts to pull Izuku off balance, but the green-haired boy doesn't let that happen. Instead, he twists in the air, kicking his other leg out as he does, which connects harshly with Katsuki's shoulder. Explosions burst from his palms, and Izuku instantly feels the familiar burn on his legs, but he pays it no mind. He rushes forward again, throwing a punch, but Katsuki blocks it with raised arms. He stumbles back from the hit, but quickly regains his footing, throwing more explosions at Izuku, who deftly dodges. Izuku grins as he pulls out his staff, extending it dramatically. Katsuki grins right back, equally as twisted as Izuku's. He dashes forward, hitting Katsuki in the back of the legs before he can dodge, and sending the blonde to his knees. Katsuki turns the action into a forward roll, not wanting to be stuck in one spot. From across the ring, he aims his AP shots at Izuku, who blocks a few with his staff before rushing forward once more, ignoring the pain as the shots he doesn't attempt to evade hit him. Izuku decides this is a great time to try out the new features of his staff he learned about from Mei. He throws his arm out to the side as he runs forward, his staff parallel to the ground as it extends dramatically. The chain between the two sides clinks together with a screeching sound. Metal on metal, but Izuku doesn't mind it. Instead, a feral grin creeps onto his face. He leaps into the air, Katsuki changing to regular explosions to keep the boy from getting too close. It doesn't stop him. In the air, he twists, spinning as he lands directly behind the explosive boy. From his crouched landing, He whips out the staff, the chained end hitting aggressively against the back of Katsuki's legs. Before he can roll his way out of the fall, Izuku executes a front kick to the blonde's back, throwing him sprawling to the floor. Swiftly, with one arm, Izuku grabs Katsuki's hands, pinning them painfully behind his back as the blonde desperately unleashes explosions. Izuku can feel his skin bubbling on his wrist and arm from the proximity of the blasts, but his grip only tightens. With his other hand, he shoves the staff beneath Katsuki's throat, grabbing both sides with one hand as the chain between them wraps around the boy's neck, leaving him immobilized. The bell dings as Izuku drops his hold on Katsuki. He tunes back into the crowd, hearing shouts and cheers from his classmates. Good job, Midoriya. Bakugou. Aizawa nods at both of them. A small but unmistakable look of pride flashes across his eyes, but it's gone in an instant. Midoriya, next time at least attempt to avoid your opponent's line of fire. You could have easily dodged over half of those attacks if you tried, but instead, you simply allowed yourself to be hit and burned. You need to head down to Recovery Girl after this. Izuku nods, though he knows he won't heed his teacher's advice. As Aizawa begins to tell Katsuki what he could have done better, Izuku steals a glance at the other teacher in the room. All Might's face is pale, his eyes wide with shock. Izuku wants to laugh at him. He wants to shout "I told you so" at the top of his lungs. He wants to rub it in his face. He stays silent. After Aizawa sets the next pair into the ring, Izuku glances at Katsuki. The blonde is obviously angry, with his clenched fists and deep-set scowl. He turns towards Izuku, opening his mouth as if about to yell at him, but Izuku glares right back at the blonde, not giving him the chance to get the words out. Instantly, his mouth snaps shut. His fists stay clenched. He stays angry, but he doesn't take it out on Izuku. Instead, he turns and watches the next match in tense silence. Beside him, Izuku can hear Mina whisper to the surrounding classmates. OMG, he really is a Baku tamer. Rumi's lesser than 3. Burnt chicken, Toga bit me. Stabby stabby. He deserved it. Green bean, Toga don't bite people. Stabby stabby, it's not my fault. He almost lit the couch on fire. Green bean, dab I know arson, we've been over this. Burnt chicken, fuck you. Burnt chicken changed green bean's name to fun-sized green bitch. Fun-sized green bitch, TF. Burnt chicken, you called me a chicken so I think we're even now? Fucker. Fun-sized green bitch, what do you have against chickens? Burnt chicken, I prefer hawks personally. Stabby stabby, Zuzu. Guess why dab I am set the couch on fire. Fun-sized green bitch, because he's a bitch. Stabby stabby, nope. Flows though asjkul. Burnt chicken, wow rude. Stabby stabby. He opened the gift you set by our door the other night and started crying so his hands went poof. Stabby stabby, blue fire. Stabby stabby. Good thing I was there to stop him before he set the couch on fire though. 3. Burnt chicken, I was not crying. Stabby stabby, it's kinda obvious when you are though. You cry blood lesser than 3. Burnt chicken, fuck you. Fun-sized green bitch, am glad you like the stuff. Stabby stabby, I did. Burnt chicken, I didn't, it was dumb. Fun-sized green bitch, oh okay, I guess I can return the burn cream and lotions and blankets then. Burnt chicken, ... I know it's fine, it's already here so we'll keep it. Fun-sized green bitch. But if you don't like it, I wouldn't want to make you keep something you don't want. Stabby stabby, I like my stuff. 3. Burnt chicken, okay fuck you, it's not horrible eggs. Fun-sized green bitch, yay. Burnt chicken, fuck you. Fun-sized green bitch. Also am visiting tonight and if I see any burn marks on the couch I'll skin you alive lesser than 3. Burnt chicken, ... damn okay then. Kyoka squeezes her eyes closed tightly, trying to ignore the loud sound of a balcony door being opened and slammed shut. This isn't the first time this has happened. She had experienced this nightly ritual from the first day they moved into the dorms, always occurring around 11:30. Initially, she assumed it was someone just wanting to get some air, but when the same thing happened a few hours later, followed by footsteps, she realized the person had most likely snuck out for some reason. She sighs. Not again. Identifying the dorm responsible for this nightly occurrence wasn't difficult, and Kyoka figured it out by the second night. Midoriya's. Unable to fall asleep with the disturbance nagging at her thoughts, she sits up in bed, biting her bottom lip anxiously. Maybe he really is just hanging out on the balcony or getting air. She tosses her covers off, stepping onto the cold hardwoods as she opens her own balcony door. Kyoka lives on the 3rd floor while Midoriya is on the 2nd. She peers over the edge carefully. His balcony is empty. Shit. Returning to her room, the door slams behind her and she flinches. The balcony doors are always loud, no matter how quietly the students try to close them. She pauses by her door, biting her lip in thought. What if I went past his door? If anyone asks, I'm just on my way to the bathroom. That wouldn't do any harm, right? With a decisive nod, and much more confidence than she feels, Kyoka steps into the hallway. As she climbs down the cold steps, she begins to wish she had worn slippers. Finally, she reaches the second floor. Trying to remember Midoriya's dorm number, Kyoka creeps past the other doors on this level, faintly hearing Hitoshi moving around in the adjacent room. As she reaches Midoriya's, she turns an ear to the door, listening for any signs of life. She finds none. There's no movement, no breathing, nothing. Usually, from this proximity, she would even be able to hear heartbeats. She hears none. Shit, he really did leave. He usually returns around 3:30 or 4. She can wait. Kyoka slides to the floor, her back against the door. What does this mean? Where is he going? Does he do this every night? When does he sleep? Questions flood her brain, worry and concern evident in each passing thought. Slowly, as it reaches closer to the morning, she drifts off into sleep, lying on the hard floor outside Midoriya's door. Thud. Kyoka jerks awake, nearly smacking her head on the door behind her. She checks her phone and sure enough, 3:54 a.m. Trying to rub the sleepiness out of her eyes, she listens in on the other room. Sure, it's a bit intrusive, but her curiosity and suspicion refuse to cease. She zones in on every little sound she hears. The door sliding shut, a huff of annoyance at the loud noise, footsteps moving toward the bed, clothes rustling and dropping to the ground, the clink of something metal, and a slow exhale. And then, nothing. It's silent for a moment before she hears something drop to the ground, something heavy, something that sounds awfully like a body. Her eyes widen in horror. She tries to get closer to the door, tries to hone her ears to hear something. To hear anything, but it's no use. There's nothing to hear. No more movements, no more breathing, no more heartbeats. Kyoka's breathing begins to quicken as the panic sets in. I don't understand. What happened? He's not dead. He can't be dead. I must be mishearing. Kyoka knows she should leave. She knows she should get Aizawa-sensei or anyone at this point, but she doesn't. She can't force her body to move. She's stuck, frozen in terror and fear. For the next few hours, she stays in a phase of half awake, half asleep. Kyoka wants to leave. She wants to go back to her room, to her comfy bed instead of this hard, cold floor, but she doesn't. She can't. Not when she just heard her classmate, her friend, stop breathing. A quiet ringing jerks her into full alertness, but it's only her alarm. Shit, it's already 7. I barely slept. God, what do I do? I need to get sensei. She begins to rise, feeling unsteady on her own legs. But before she can take a step, she freezes. In the room behind her, in Midoriya's room, she hears movement. Her eyes widen, and she quickly presses her ear to the door to make sure she isn't imagining things. She isn't. Movement, footsteps, breathing, a heartbeat. Shit, what the fuck? Her breathing begins to quicken once more, but this time, she's no longer frozen. She dashes up the stairs, taking 2 at a time, rushing to her room. She slams the door behind her, back still pressed to the wood as she attempts to calm her breathing. He's alive. He was dead, but now he's alive. What the fuck is going on? It's no good, Tagato. Nijire. No matter how hard I try to picture them as meatballs, they still have the body of a human. Izuku, along with all his classmates, stares in disbelief as the seemingly intense upperclassman turns around, leaning his head against the wall. I want to go home. The girl next to him laughs cheerfully. His name's Tamaki Amachiki and I'm Nijire Hadu. We're here to talk to you all about the internships. Before she can continue talking, Hadu seems to get distracted by something. Her eyes widening as she bounds toward the front row, Shaoji in particular. Hey, why are you wearing a mask? Did you catch a cold? Or is it the latest fashion? Shaoji blinks. Well, a long time ago Oh, you're Todoroki, right. How did you get that burn on your face? That's actually, ew, what happened to your face too? How did you get that huge scar? How did you get all those other scars? You're covered in M. Izuku blinks up at the girl. She's going to interrupt if I try and answer, isn't she? And Ashido, if you break your horns, do they grow back? Can you move M? Hey, Shinsu, is the scarf a part of your quirk? How do you get it to move? And Asui, are you a tree frog? What type of frog are you? Hey, can you support your whole body with your tail? Ajiru, I'm super curious. The students have stopped trying to answer and Aizawa looks about 3 seconds away from quitting his job. I see you're all lacking any sort of rationality whatsoever. Please do not worry, Eraserhead. The third, blonde boy shouts. I'm the key performer here today anyways. Aizawa just sighs. How would you all like to team up and fight against me? Jiru winces at the loud shouting, and Aizawa sighs once more. As they walk to the gym, confused muttering passes through the students. Izuku rushes to catch up with Jiru. Hey, are you okay? You seem really tired. The purple-haired girl widens her eyes, her mouth opening and closing without actually saying any words. She gulps. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Momo. She rushes off without another word and Izuku is left in confusion. Is she okay? Okay, you can all come at me, Mirio shouts, smiling wide. The students look at each other before shrugging and falling into their fighting positions. The fight doesn't last long. The blonde drops his clothes and disappears into the ground, taking out the long-range students first before coming for the close-ranged ones. Nobody was able to land a single hit on him. Frankly, it's embarrassing. The class groans, listening in pain as he explains his quirk, permeation. As he talks, Izuku tries to listen, but he can't help the feeling of Jiru's stare burning into the back of his head. He doesn't know what he must have done to upset her, but he'll try and fix it later. He zones back in just in time to hear the end of Mirio's speech. With the experience I gained from my internship, I was able to transform my powers and reach the top. And for that reason, scary or not, an opportunity to have internships in the first year is an opportunity you absolutely cannot miss out on. He dramatically poses at the end of his speech as the students clap, thanking him for his time there. Izuku watches the blonde as he leaves the gym with his two friends. He really is a hero already. I promise to someday be just as good as him, if not better. Denki desperately tries to sit still as he's squished between Kirishima and Shinsu, watching, more like enduring, the really, really boring movie. He had been bouncing his leg for a while, but Bakugou leaned over Kirishima and smacked him on the back of his head, telling him to cut that shit out. So now, he sits pressed against Shinsu's side, trying with all his might to remain still. He puts his legs up, pulling them to his chest, then brings them under him. Once that becomes uncomfortable, he removes his legs, putting one down and keeping one propped up. He groans quietly, letting his head fall back and hit the back of the couch. When is this movie gonna be over? It's literally mind-numbing. From the corner of his eye, he catches Izuku leaving the room, sparing a small smile for his friends before disappearing upstairs. Can I do that too? No, Mina would murder me. She said she loves this movie. He begins to bite at his nails, desperately needing to do something with his hands. That's when he feels a small pressure on his leg. Glancing down, a small fidget toy sits on his thigh. Where did that come from? Instinctively, he grabs it, happy for some sort of distraction. But as he does, he glances at the boy beside him. Shinsu looks away, not meeting his gaze. Did he put that here? Despite the darker room, Denki spots the tips of Shinsu's ears turning red, and so he smiles to himself. The movie goes by faster after that, and he's grateful that the purple-haired boy tried to help and offered this small distraction. Lost in thought about a certain someone, his phone begins to buzz in his pocket. He ignores the notifications at first, but it doesn't stop. Shinsu seems to have the same problem, as both boys grab their phones and check them at the exact same time, though Shinsu seems much more annoyed than Denki. Fucker's lesser than 33. Aux cord. Hey, can you guys all meet me in my room after the movie? I need to talk ab something. Manliest of mans, sure dude. Is everything alright? Aux cord. I'm not actually sure lol. Flex tape. We'll be there DW. I can bring tea lesser than 3. Pika, do you want to leave early? If it's urgent we can. Blasty, you just don't want to stay and watch the movie idiot. Queen shit, you don't like it? D. Pika, knew it's good him just sleepy aha. Blasty, he's literally not sat still the entire time. Blasty, he's shaking the whole goddamn couch. Insomniac, Elmao it's true. Aux cord, it can wait DW will just tell you all after. Queen shit, I already have plans to help Acha with some stuff so I won't be able to make it but keep me updated PLSSSSS. Aux cord, I can tell you later DW. Queen shit, tidity lesser than 33. Aux cord, also am bringing Momo and to do BTW. Blasty, fucking half and half. Why that bastard? Flex tape, we love them he'll bring extra tea. Insomniac, to do likes his tea iced BTW. Queen shit, Opus how do you know that who? Insomniac, BC Izu keeps track of everyone, especially people he finds interesting Elmao. Queen shit, ALHKJSDA I got you DW. Flex tape, LMAOO damn. Manliest of mans, can you bring me hot chocolate instead PLS lesser than 3? Flex tape, sure. Flex tape, any other demands? Pika, hot choco for me 2OW mini marshmallows. Insomniac, coffee please. Blasty, you don't need fucking coffee at 10 p.m. eyebags. Insomniac, how about this? Insomniac, fuck you. Queen shit, LMAOO. Flex tape, I would've been frustrated ab all the demands but BC of that I'ma get you the best fucking coffee of her life. Insomniac, hell yeah. Blasty, fuck all of you. Izuku slips off his balcony as quietly as he can, which, granted, isn't very quiet because of the loud doors, but he tries anyways. He got word about a dangerous drug exchange happening later that night, so he patrols the surrounding areas as he waits for the clock to reach 1. His phone buzzes in his pocket. Stabby. Dabai and I miss you. I thought you were visiting tonight. Izuku sighs. Shit, I forgot about that. Checking the time, he jumps across the rooftops, making his way home. Hugh, Imamwa. Stabby, yay, D. L. He reaches his house quickly, slamming the door open as he enters. Dabai yelps, jumping at the sudden noise. This just makes Izuku laugh and the man glares at him. Ever think of giving some sort of warning before you slam the fucking door open? Izuku shrugs, throwing himself onto the couch. I texted Toga, doesn't that count? That demon never tells me shit. Hey, I'm right here. Toga's blonde hair comes into view over the back of the couch, and she launches herself over it and onto Dabai. I'm glad you made it. Izuku smiles at the girl, ruffling her hair as he does. I can't stay too long though. Have you guys stayed out of trouble? Toga nods enthusiastically and Dabai just looks off to the side. Dabai, what did you do? He gulps at the sudden intense aura coming from the younger boy, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. I didn't do anything. Dabai, okay fine. He throws his hands in the air, his icy blue eyes hesitantly meeting Izuku's green ones. I may have found a way to get some money. Not a lot, but enough to provide me and the vampire with a few meals every once in a while. Izuku sighs. What did you do? Well, he begins to pick at the staples in his arm nervously. I kinda sort of got a hold of one of Endeavor's credit cards and now have access to practically his whole account. Izuku's eyes widen. Oh my god, that's amazing. The two blink at him in shock. Amazing. Yeah, I fucking hate that bastard. Where did you get the card? Dabai begins to laugh, both with humor and relief at the safety of his kneecaps. I'm not sure who it was, but some kid online was trying to give it away and so I texted him and he sent me a picture of it. That was Todoroki, wasn't it? That's awesome though, good job. Although he tries to hide it, Izuku can see the happiness Dabai gets from being praised. I'm glad you guys can take care of yourself while I'm gone. He turns to Toga with an excited smile. Now you won't have to fight in the ring as much. She nods enthusiastically. Even though I like stabbing people in there, it's always so much effort and people can be so creepy. Dabai glances at them in confusion. What are you talking about? Oh, there's this underground market where they sell stuff and you can fight and make money. The man just stares at the blonde girl. And you fight there. That's where I met Zuzu. Izuku. The green-haired boy stifles a laugh as the two continue to go back and forth. Boy, what time was the thing you had to go do, shortfuck? Izuku glares at Dabai. I like Toga's nickname better. And at 1, he glances at his phone, practically dropping it once he sees the time. Shit, I'll be back later. Rushing to rezip his mask and run out the door, he waves goodbye quickly before heading towards the docks on the east side of town. Fuck, it's already 12:56. Will I make it in time? As he bounds across the rooftops, running faster than he thought he was possible of, he finds himself next to Eraserhead. The tall hero falls in line beside him. Where are you going in such a rush, kid? Aw, shit. Hey Eraser. Izuku has tried to avoid his teacher as best he can on patrol, not wanting to give away his identity as one of Aizawa's students. A drug bust on the East Docks. Apparently, it's really big and dangerous. The hero raises an eyebrow. And you're going alone? Well, not anymore, apparently. When they reach the docks, the criminals are already there. Nearly 10 men stand around, discussing in hushed voices. When one opens a briefcase, revealing some sort of bullets, by the looks of it, Izuku jumps into action. Eraserhead calls after him in a whispered shout, but Izuku simply dashes forward. The men instantly are aware of his presence, but that doesn't stop him from taking out 2 of them before anyone can react. He slams his staff into one of them, throwing the guy to the ground with a thud before he uses the fallen body to vault him over another man. He twists in the air, bringing down an axe kick to his skull. 2 down, 8 to go. By now, the people have begun to fight back. 3 of them have pulled out their guns already. 2 are attempting to flee as 3 others use their quirks as defense. Eraserhead quickly joins the fight, going against the ones with quirks. He erases their powers with a glare, and they all freeze in their spot, confusion clear in their stances. He takes no time taking the men out, tying them up quickly. Izuku goes after the ones with guns, smacking the gun out of the closest man's hand with a kick. He dodges the bullets that shoot his way as he shoves the man's face to the ground. He goes after the second man next, but as he ducks from a stray shot, the criminal in front of him runs out of bullets and decides to use his gun as a different type of weapon. He swings the heavy metal weapon at Izuku, who barely dodges in time, and the tip of the gun gets caught on his hood. Shit, Eraser is here. Izuku ducks down, swiping the man's feet from under him quickly. He lands on the ground with a thud, and Izuku quickly restrains his hands, pressing a forearm to his neck until he passes out. 1 gunman left. This one, apparently, still has bullets, which Izuku realizes as one painfully lodges into his chest. He grits his teeth in pain, running toward the man as his hood flaps in the wind behind him. It takes 3 more shots until Izuku reaches the criminal, taking him out with a single punch. Before he can leave, or put his hood back on, another shot fires out. From the end of the dock, one of the fleeing men stands, shaking as he holds the gun with wide eyes. Ouch, the bullet only grazed him. Thank God, but it still hurts like a bitch. Izuku charges toward the man, reaching him quickly. As he attempts to punch him, the criminal spits, a green acid spewing from his mouth. Izuku pulls back, using his arm to cover his eyes so as not to blind himself. The green liquid burns his skin, sinking painfully into his arm and burning away his gloves. He can feel it start to melt his mask away as well, to which Izuku lets out a string of colorful curse words. He ducks as the man attempts to spit at him again, landing a powerful punch to his stomach. He goes flying backward, and Izuku is quick to close the distance, turning him over and shoving his face into the ground. He reaches into his pocket to grab a zip tie, but a jolt of pain flares through him as the adrenaline begins to wear off. Fuck, if I don't get home soon, I'll die out here. He ties the criminal's hands behind his back quickly before beginning to limp off. Thank you for the help, Nightfall. Izuku freezes. Shit, I forgot Eraserhead was here. Without turning around, he waves a hand, as if to dismiss the gratitude. No problem, old man. He begins to walk away once more, faster this time, but the voice calls out again. Kid, you're bleeding. Footsteps begin to come closer and Izuku walks faster. Wait, did you get shot? A large hand lands on his shoulder, and Izuku winces at the contact. The Eraserhead turns him around, forcing the Vigilante to face him. The hero's eyes widen as he sucks in a breath. Midoriya. Shit. Izuku sprints as fast he can, dashing across rooftops and through alleyways, not caring when he stumbles and trips as he goes, nor about the rate at which he's hastily losing blood. Panic surges within him, making the pain he feels go to the back of his mind. Aizawa saw me. He knows it's me. Fuck. What the fuck do I do? Shit. The dorm building comes into view, looming ahead, and Izuku only runs faster. He quickly scales the building, his vision blurring as he goes. Slamming his door open, he practically falls into his room, landing on the ground with a resounding thud. He tries to push himself up, but it's all too much. He sighs heavily. I'll deal with Aizawa tomorrow. I'll run away, maybe fake my death. I don't care. I'll figure it out tomorrow. A few hours earlier, Katsuki leans against the wall, huffing in annoyance. He's tired. He's hungry. He doesn't want to be here right now. Here, as in stuck in Ear's dorm room, surrounded by the rest of the fucking extras. Ponytail cozies up to Ears on her bed, holding her hand in a not-so-subtle way, as soy sauce and Dunt's face perch at the end of the bed, watching Jiru with worried eyes. Shitty Hair stands by the desk, near Katsuki, while Aizawa spins in the desk chair with a nonchalant expression despite the tense atmosphere. On the ground, Ibeg sits cross-legged against the wall, anxiously burying his chin in his scarf. Why the fuck are we here, Ears? Momo gives Katsuki a stern look. Bakugou, give her time to talk. This seems like something big. He huffs but doesn't ask again. After a few deep breaths, Jiru finally begins to speak. Ever since we started staying at the dorms, I've been hearing things every night. You've been hearing voices. Dunt's face interrupts with awe, but everyone shushes him and he clamps a hand over his mouth. Not voices, sounds. They happen around 11:30 and then again around 3:30, every single night. It was annoying me to wake up to it, so after a few times, I tried to figure out where it was coming from. She pauses, taking a shaky breath. It was coming from Midoriya's room. Ponytail looks at her most likely girlfriend in shock, and Aizawa is suddenly paying full attention. Katsuki shoots mindfuck a look, but the fucker ignores him. It's always sounding like he's opening and closing the balcony door, but anytime I look from my balcony, he's never outside. So a few nights ago, I decided to go down and listen by his door. Don't you think that's kind of? Shitty Hair starts. Really fucking intrusive. Katsuki finishes for him. Yeah, I'd say. Jiru ducks her head in shame. I know. But don't you find it strange that he's leaving the dorms? Half and half tilts his head in thought. We don't know for sure he's leaving the dorms. Izuku might just want to open the door for a bit. Ears shakes her head. That's what I thought, so I had to check. But when I went to his room, I couldn't. There was nothing. He wasn't in the room. He really left. Katsuki huffs. Is that what you're so upset about? Knowing the nerd, he's probably just wanting to go on a fucking midnight walk. Once again, the girl shakes her head, tears in her eyes. No, that's not why. I stayed outside his door while he was gone, which I know, it's weird, but I had to understand. And when he came back she takes in a shuddering breath as the tears begin to fall. He died. Shit. This time, when Katsuki glances at Hitoshi, the asshole actually looks back, panic evident in his tired eyes. Ponytail pulls Jiru into a hug, trying to comfort the trembling girl. SHH, it's okay. You must have misheard, love. Ears push away. No, I swear. His breathing stopped. His heartbeat stopped. Shitty Hair glances at Katsuki, a worried look on his face. The blonde notices Pikachu and Soy Sauce giving each other the same look. They're not believing it. Thank fuck. Jiru suddenly jolts, her protests falling silent as she tilts her head downward. It's 11:30, isn't it? I just heard him leaving. Katsuki sighs. I'm out. It's way past my bedtime. A sob cuts him off, making him freeze in his spot. He slowly turns around. Jiru is curled up, her head in her hands as Momo tries to comfort her. Please, you don't have to believe me, but can you just stay for tonight? She takes a shuddering breath. I don't want to be alone. The tall girl next to her instantly nods, along with Kaminari and Shiro. Of course, Jiru. We're your friends. We're here for you, dude. Kirishima gives her a smile before stepping toward her closet. You have a futon I can lay out. As the extras set up the room, Katsuki bites his lip in thought. That goddamn rat, he's gonna get himself caught. How could he be so reckless? I'll have a word with him tomorrow. Knock some sense into that empty fucking head. Katsuki settles onto the futon, only to be quickly joined by shitty hair and soy sauce. With a sigh, the blonde closes his eyes, trying to fall asleep and get this day over with. Thump. Kyoka wakes with a start, sitting up quickly and accidentally jostling Momo. She glances around the room, trying to figure out the source of the noise, but she finds no evidence of anything amiss. Momo is cuddled around her girlfriend's arms around her waist, while Todoroki is asleep at the foot of the bed, curled up like a cat. On the futon, beside the bed, Bakugou lays in the center with Kirishima pressed to his chest, their legs tangled and arms wrapped tightly around each other. At any other moment, Kyoka would have cooed and taken a picture, but right now, her heart won't stop pounding. Shiro is also on the futon, spread out as Bakugou's back is turned toward him. On the opposite wall, Kaminari is curled up on Shinsu's lap, sleeping soundlessly on the blushing boy. Wait, blushing? She glances at Shinsu a little closer to see that he's very much awake. Oh shit, I forgot he has insomnia. She waves at him, trying to get his attention. When he glances up, she points to the ground, mouthing a question. He doesn't get it. She huffs in frustration. Midoriya could be dying right now. Did you hear that? She whispers, and Shinsu nods, biting his lower lip. Shit, if he heard it, then it wasn't a dream. Her eyes widen as the realization hits her. That means what I heard the night before was real too. Fuck. As her breathing begins to quicken, her girlfriend stirs on her lap, waking up and glancing at Kyoka with worried eyes. What's wrong, darling? She mumbles, sleepily. Usually, Kyoka would find this very adorable. But at this moment, she's freaking out. She grabs her girlfriend's shoulders, shaking them lightly. He's back. He could be hurt. He could be dead. I need to go to him. I need to check. Instantly, Momo sits up, eyes wide and alert. Around them, the rest of her friends begin to wake by the noise as well. Hey, Kyoka, breathe. You need to breathe, love. Kyoka squeezes her eyes shut, shaking her head violently. No, what if Midori is not? I need to check, please. Momo bites her lip but nods. I'll wake the others. She quickly attempts to shake her friends awake. And Shinsu, who heard the conversation, does the same, just much more violently. Why the fuck did you wake me, mindfuck? Bakugou growls in an attempt to hide the rising blush from waking up in Kirishima's arms. Kyoka answers for him. Midori is back. I need to check on him. Please, don't make me go alone again. The others are quick to nod, but Kyoka watches as Bakugou and Shinsu share a strange, incomprehensible glance before standing along with the rest. They quickly rush down the hall, and Kyoka practically throws herself down the stairs, almost tripping as she goes. They end up in front of Midoriya's door and it falls silent. Kyoka leans forward, trying to keep her breathing under control as the tears continue to roll down her face. After a second, her eyes widen with horror. There's a heartbeat but it's faint, she says in a hushed, trembling voice, trying to keep her hysteria under control. His breathing sounds so shallow. I don't know what to do. Momo squeezes her hand, and Kirishima steps forward. Move out of the way. I'll break down the door. Move out of the way. I'll break down the door. Aizawa steps forward as Momo pulls the trembling Jiru back. Activating his quirk, he slams his body against the door near the handle. A loud crack resonates through the empty hall, but it's not enough. He goes again, using more force this time, and the wood cracks more, beginning to splinter around the area that he hit. With a grunt, he slams himself against it once more, and the door flies open. Aizawa stumbles into the room, but a hand grabs the back of his shirt, keeping him from completely falling forward. As Bakugou pulls him to his feet, the redhead can only stare into the room with horror. Well, move out of the way, shitty hair, the blonde scowls. We can't see shit when you're standing in the doorway. Aizawa stumbles forward, letting the rest of the group come into the dark room. Momo gasps, covering her mouth with one hand, and pulls Jiru to her side, hiding her face with the other. Jiru breaks down even more, sobbing, and Kaminari begins to cry as well. Shiro stands, frozen next to Todoroki, who's showing the most emotion Aizawa's ever seen from him. The boy covers his mouth with one hand, his brows drawn together and his eyes wide with horror and pain. Behind him, Shinsu looks to the ground, Bakugou doing the same. On the floor, near the balcony, Izuku lays on his back in a puddle of blood. He's in strange clothes, a black vest and large cargo pants, still wearing his combat boots. Blood is gushing from his stomach, the wound unidentifiable through all the dark, thick liquid. After a brief moment of silence, the room breaks into chaos. Somebody get Aizawa. Todoroki yells, falling to Midoriya's side. Zero doesn't hesitate in rushing out of the room, fear filling his face as he goes. Momo throws herself down next to the bleeding boy, feeling his neck for a pulse. She breathes a sigh of relief. It's faint, but there. He's not dead. Beside Ijiru, Jiru lets out another sob, sinking to the floor. Kaminari follows her, running a comforting hand over her back as he cries with her. Ijiru kneels down next to Todoroki, ripping the sleeve of his shirt in a makeshift cloth. We need to stop the bleeding. I'm going to apply pressure. Momo nods, searching the boy for wounds. She finds many. Creating a washcloth with her quirk, she presses on Midoriya's shoulder, where the white cloth quickly turns to red. Behind Ijiru, the sobs from Jiru suddenly stop. He steals a glance at her, but she's not looking at Midoriya. She's staring wide-eyed at Bakugou and Shinsu. Why are you looking like that? What's going on? She stands, taking a step closer and jabbing a finger in the boys' faces. You know something, don't you? What do you know? Shinsu stumbles back, but Bakugou just glares at the ground, gritting his teeth with a guilty look on his face. Why does he look guilty? Tell me what you fucking know. Momo drops the cloth, telling Todoroki to hold it as she pulls Jiru away, attempting to calm her down. The smaller girl's screams turn into sobs once more, as she wraps her arms around Momo, burying her head in the girl's shoulder. The door slams open and Ijiru jolts at the sudden loud noise. Get out of the way. Finally, Zero returns with Aizawa-sensei. As the students clear the doorway, Aizawa pushes his way through, kneeling down next to Midoriya. His eyes are wide with fear and horror. Shit, they're bullet wounds, multiple of them, he says quietly, and Ijiru sucks in a breath. Shit, he can't die. He just started to become a hero. Ijiru scoots out of the way as Aizawa takes over the job of applying pressure. The teacher glances up at Todoroki, who has tears in his eyes and gives the boy a worried look. We have to. If we don't stop the bleeding, he's going to die. We need to cauterize the wound. No, he can't die. Ijiru finally lets his own tears spill over as he stares down at the bloody body of his friend. I can't do anything. I wasn't fast enough. I didn't put enough pressure. He's going to die and it's all my fault. We need to cauterize the wound. Aizawa stares into Shoto's eyes as he says this. Shoto doesn't know why. It's scary watching the most put-together teacher practically break down. He has tears in his eyes and his voice and hands are trembling violently. Todoroki, I need you to do it. Shoto snaps his head up, eyes wide. What? Aizawa stares down at Izuku, still applying pressure to the wounds as he speaks. I need you to cauterize the wound. He's not stopping bleeding. If we don't do anything, he's going to bleed out. It's the only option right now. Shoto can feel his body begin to shake. He can feel his breath begin to quicken. I can't do that, he chokes out. I can't burn him. His heart is pounding in his ears. All he can hear is his unsteady breath and the sobs of his friends. All he can see is red. We have to stop the bleeding. You're the only one who can do it. I can't. Shoto shouts back, tears streaming down his face. Why can't Bakugou do it? His powers are explosions. That'll only cause more pain. Aizawa yells right back. Blood begins to fill Izuku's mouth, choking the injured boy. Fuck. You have to do it. He's going to die. I'll be just as bad as him if I do that. I can't. I'm sorry. Please, don't make me do it, he begs. By now, Aizawa has tears running down his face as well. I'm sorry, Todoroki. It's the only way to stop the bleeding. This isn't working. You'll be helping him, not hurting him. Please. Finally, Shoto nods, dread filling his gut as he does. His teacher walks him through how much heat to use, trying to guide him through the process, but Shoto can barely listen. He bites onto his tongue, lighting his palm on fire and placing it over Izuku's injuries. Izuku screams. Shoto tries to jerk his hand back, but Aizawa grabs his wrist, pressing it back down. The screaming stops as the boy falls back into unconsciousness, but that doesn't make Shoto feel any better. Finally, Aizawa yanks his hands away, leaving the red, bubbling skin around the wounds. The bleeding stops. Aizawa sighs in relief. Good job, Todoroki. You did good. Shoto doesn't believe him. How could he have done good if he burnt someone? Izuku's going to have a scar, just like him now. He squeezes his eyes shut as Kirishima attempts to comfort him. I'm so sorry, Izuku. I'm so sorry. Katsuki is officially freaking out. He's trying to keep his panic attack at bay, but with little luck. Aizawa's going to find out. They're all going to find out. What do I do? What do I fucking do? He drops into a crouch, holding his head in his arms as he tries to calm his breathing. Shit, what do I do? He glances at Itoshi, hoping the other person who knows what's going on will help somehow. He doesn't. Ibex seems to be having the same problem as Katsuki. He's staring wide-eyed at the teacher, tears streaming down his face. Katsuki understands. Even if you already know he's going to wake up, it's still horrifying to watch your best friend bleed out on the floor. Besides, what if he doesn't wake up this time? Quirks don't always work 100% of the time. If it glitches one time, then he's fucked. He'll be gone. Katsuki glances at Aizawa, who's reaching towards Izuku's neck, feeling for a pulse. The room goes still as they wait for their teacher's answer. Shit, that's all he needs to say for the room to understand what happened. They all start to sob harder. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Aizawa yells, starting CPR compressions on the dead boy. Come on, kid, wake up, wake up. Jiru, Momo, and Kaminari are all huddled together, sobbing on the floor as Shiro watches silently, a hand over his mouth with tears streaming down his face. Kirishima is also silently sobbing as he holds onto Todoroki, who looks absolutely ruined. Aizawa curls into Kirishima as he sobs into his arms, his body shaking tremendously, his hands still covered in Izuku's blood. Katsuki is sitting on the floor next to Hitoshi, who's still standing, tears dripping as his hands stay trembling by his sides. Aizawa is still attempting to do CPR, but by now, everyone knows it's too late. He's already gone. Katsuki closes his eyes and lets the tears fall freely. Shouta won't stop trying. He won't let his kid die. His arms are tired. His throat is raw from screaming at the kid who can't even hear him. Wake up, got him, Nit. It's too late. It's been too long without any reaction. Fuck, fuck. Shouta drops his arms from the boy's chest, instead using the same blood-covered hands to scoop Midoriya in his arms, cradling the lifeless body. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, he whispers into the boy's hair, his tears flowing freely into Midoriya's now damp curls. If I had known you were Nightfall, he continues to whisper, I could have been so much better to you. I could have taken care of you. I'm so sorry. Shouta hasn't felt something like this in so long. At least not since Oboro. As he clutches Midoriya's lifeless form in his arms, holding him tightly against his chest. The tears continue to stream down his face, their saltiness mingling with the taste of grief on his lips. His mind races with a tumult of emotions. Regret pierces his heart as he questions if there was more he could have done to prevent the death of this child. The crushing pain in his chest feels suffocating, as though the very air around him has turned into an oppressive darkness. As he sobs, hunching over Midoriya's body, he hears someone call out, Dad, please, you need to stop and breathe. Who's talking? Why does that voice sound so familiar? Shouta can't see anything. Nothing except for the lifeless boy in his arms. Please, just breathe. Shouta takes a deep breath but refuses to let go of the body. Dad, he's going to be okay. You need to. No, he's not. He's fucking dead, Hitoshi. Shouta never yells at his family, much less his son. But how can he stand there and lie so blatantly to his face? Hitoshi glances at Bakugou, the two of them communicating with their eyes before he returns his gaze to his father. He steps forward, crouching in front of Shouta. Despite his even tone, he has tears streaming down his face. He's really going to be okay. I'll explain everything in a minute, but he doesn't have a fucking minute. Shouta winces at how loud it came out, but he doesn't loosen his grip on Midoriya. We should go to Recovery Girl. He can still survive. We just need to leave now. Once again, Hitoshi glances back at Bakugou. Shouta narrows his eyes at the boys. What aren't you two telling me? What do you know? He can hear his voice raising to a shout once more, causing the other students in the room to flinch. All eyes turn towards the two boys, staring at them in both confusion and anger. Surprisingly, Bakugou is the one to speak up. He stands, looking everyone in the eye individually. It's the calmest the explosive blonde has ever been. I'm not explaining when you're all like this. Once you calm down, we'll talk. Izuku's not going to die. That's all I'm saying. He's already fucking dead. Bakugou flinches at his teacher's words, and the students huddled on the floor only cry harder. Sensei, the blonde says, speaking in a voice Shouta never knew he was capable of. You need to trust me. Trust us. He's going to be okay. Shouta looks into the boy's crimson eyes. They're honest and his voice is sincere. He sets Midoriya down gently. Hitoshi instantly rushes to his father's side, hugging him tightly. Shouta can finally breathe. The extras all sit in a circle, Katsuki next to Ibags as the group all stare at the two of them. On Katsuki's other side, Aizawa sits, cradling Izuku's limp body in his arms. Tears still silently run down his face as he gently plays with the green curls absent-mindedly. Next to Todoroki, shitty hair stares down at his hands, a blank look on his face. Pikachu is next. He's mainly stopped crying as he leans on Kirishima, Shiro holding his hand comfortingly. Beside soy sauce, Jiru is still crying silently with Ponytail's arm wrapped around her shoulder, pressing her to her side. Finally, Aizawa is next to Ibex. Katsuki can't decipher the man's expression, but as numb as it looks, it's the most emotion he's ever seen from his teacher. He takes a deep breath and Ibex puts a supporting hand on his shoulder. For once, he doesn't shrug it off. Izuku isn't quirkless. Silence. Everyone looks at him as if he's insane. Great. Off to a good fucking start. He has a quirk that lets him revive after he dies. I've seen it a few times myself. Itoshi nods, his gaze still fixed on the ground. Me too. Only once or twice though. It stays silent, as if they're waiting for more of an explanation. But Katsuki keeps his mouth clenched shut. That makes so much sense. Ears practically whispers. And they all turn to look at her instead. Why? Aizawa squints his eyes, confusion evident on his morning face. I've been hearing him leave every night and come back later and then She takes a shuddering breath. He stops breathing and his heartbeat always stops. He really is dying. Shitty hair sits up a little straighter. Wait, every night. How? Katsuki winces. He told me about it. He dies nearly every night since he found out about his quirk. Aizawa's eyes widen. How? Does he get killed every night? The blonde shakes his head slowly, refusing to meet his teacher's gaze. Most of the time I think it really is just dying. But sometimes, it's suicide. A collective gasp echoes through the group and Katsuki winces again. But, why? Isahat's voice is a whisper, pain flooding his eyes. I don't know if he's actually suicidal or just wanting to heal. He's told me he can't sleep well unless he dies, so. Is it about the nightmares, do you think? Siro asks, sniffling. Nightmares. Aizawa finally looks up from the ground, furrowing his eyebrows at soy sauce. Remember at the summer camp? He woke up screaming and disassociating. It was scary. Katsuki nods. Ponytail clears her throat and they all look at her as she gives a sheepish half smile. I'm confused though. How did Izuku die? Why was he going out at night anyway? Confused murmurs ripple through the group and Hitoshi finally speaks up. God, Izu is going to be so pissed at me when he wakes up, but you guys deserve to know. They all lean forward in anticipation. Izu is a vigilante. Has been for multiple months now. You've probably heard of him. He goes by the alias Nightfall. The extras gasp, breaking out into conversation. That's why he fights so well. I admire Nightfall so much. I've followed him since he first ended up the news. That's so brave and manly. I can't believe he's a vigilante. What do his parents think about that? I knew it. At the last comment, everyone pauses, glancing at their teacher. He clears his throat, clearly not having expected his students to hear his mumbled words. I've been working with Nightfall for multiple months now. Well, not with. I've just seen him around and have been watching out for him. I never knew he was Izuku Midoriya. Was a UA student. Wasn't actually quirkless. There are so many possibilities for the sentence to end with, but Aizawa settles for silence. Kaminari sniffs and glances at Katsuki and Hitoshi. So, what do we do now? Katsuki scoffs, no real annoyance in his tone as he speaks. Now, we wait. Izuku wakes up slowly, the familiar headache and aching of his bones greeting him rudely as he begins to shift on the floor, attempting to get more comfortable. What he's not familiar with, however, is the array of gasps that accompany his movements. What the? Izuku suddenly notices that he's not completely on the ground, like usual. His head seems to be propped up on something, while a gentle pressure can be felt on his cheek and in his hair. Hesitantly, he opens his eyes. He's met with wet drops falling onto his freckled cheeks, as a very upset-looking Todoroki stares down at him. Todoroki. Izuku can't comprehend what's happening. He woke after dying, only to find his head in Todoroki's lap. Oh, I must be dreaming. That would make sense. As the beautiful boy caresses Izuku's cheek gently, it only confirms Izuku's suspicions. Izuku, he whispers, his voice trembling. He smiles up at Todoroki, reaching up a hand and tangling his fingers in the soft, red, and white hair. It feels so real. Hey, Shoto. He's never used the boy's name before, but in his dreams, it's a common recurrence. Todoroki's eyes widen, and he flushes even as the tears in his eyes remain. I was so scared. I thought you left before I was able to tell you. He trails off, biting his lip as his eyebrows furrow together. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Todoroki's bottom lip begins to tremble. I'm not good at words. Izuku laughs breathlessly, pulling the boy's head down towards him slightly. That's okay. How about you show me instead? He offers with confidence he only has when dreaming. Todoroki's eyes widen once more, and he leans down further. Their lips aren't touching, but Izuku can feel the other's hot, shaky breath on his. As he closes his eyes, ready to close the distance between the two of them, someone clears their throat. Izuku sighs. Dreams never go the way I want them to, do they? He drops his hand and Todoroki jolts back, tensing instantly. Izuku's gaze flits to the side, only to find his teacher, along with many of his friends sitting in his room. He squints his eyes slightly, before closing them with another sigh. Why are you guys of all people in my dream? He mutters, frustrated. A sharp stinging sensation hits his forehead and his eyes fly open. Katsuki is glaring down at him, his fingers still hovering over his head after he flicked him. You're not dreaming, fuckface. Izuku rolls his eyes, his forehead still stinging. That's what they all say. Wait, his forehead still stinging. Stinging. You don't feel anything when dreaming. Oh shit. Izuku lurches up, nearly headbutting Todoroki as he goes. He frantically looks around, finally taking the time to observe the other people's expressions. They all stare at him with wide eyes, faces filled with concern, shock, and fear. Their eyes are all red and puffy as if they'd been crying, even Aizawa's. What the fuck is going on? He didn't mean for the thought to be voiced out loud, but thankfully, someone answers anyway. I'm sorry, Izu, Hitoshi says quietly, not looking him in the eyes. They know everything. All of them do. Izuku freezes. This isn't happening. That can't be right. Everything. Hitoshi and Katsuki both nod, eyes downturned. Shit, that's all the confirmation he needs. In an instant, Izuku is already out the door, dashing through the halls and shoving past the confused students of Class 1A. Izuku hears cursing behind him before the kids and teacher from his room are chasing him. He runs down the stairs, jumping when he has only 5 left. As he knocks into Ida, he calls out an apology. Midoriya, what the? No running in the halls. Tell that to Aizawa. Before Izuku has a chance to explain. And before Ada can even ask, the stampede of students crashes past him, practically shoving the perplexed boy into the wall. Izuku, get back here. Stop running, fucking nerd. Midoriya, wait. The calls echo past him, sounding quieter than before. Izuku doesn't take the time to look back to check how far away they are. He should have, because if he did, then he would have noticed that some of the students split away from the main group. He figures this out soon enough. He rounds the corner, ready to run out the door, when suddenly he finds tape being shot at him. Izuku, we just need to talk. Zero shoots out another strand of tape when the green-haired boy dodges the first. Behind the two of them, in the common room, Shoji, Uraraka, and Aoyama all watch them, eyes wide with confusion and concern. Izuku easily dodges the tape, getting low to the ground and swiping Zero's feet out from under him in one swift move. He dashes toward the door, but suddenly a wall of ice is covering it. At the end of the hallway, Todoroki stands, out of breath and looking like a complete mess. His hair is disheveled. There's flicks of fire crawling up his arm, and bloodstains. Izuku shakes his head, rushing the opposite way of the tempting boy. Izuku, he calls after him. Please, we need to talk about it. He squeezes his eyes shut tight as he runs, trying to not give in to his pounding heart. He races up the stairs once more, passing a startled-looking Tsuyu and Kota. He ends up on the 3rd story, which is not where he wanted to be, but nobody will be up here looking for me at least. He glances around frantically, searching for a way out. His eyes fall on the windows at the end of the hall. Fuck it. I need to escape as quickly as possible. He takes off sprinting, ignoring the footsteps that follow from afar. Once he reaches the end, he jumps, crashing through the window with a smile. That smile doesn't last long. White fabric wraps around his rapidly falling body in an instant, yanking him right back inside. Shit. His eyes widen as he searches for a way to escape. But Aizawa has him tightly secured, Hitoshi only a few steps behind him, his own capture weapon at the ready. Izu, are you hurt? He shakes his head. No, let me go. His face goes slack, eyes fogging over. God fucking damn it, how did I forget about his quirk? Return to your room quietly, don't put up a fight. Also, calm down, stop hyperventilating. Izuku complies, only snapping out of the brainwashed state once he's safely back in his room, the door and balcony locked to avoid another attempt at escaping. Aizawa sits across from him, his eyes narrowed as he stares into Izuku's. You need to explain everything. If it's easier, I can have the students leave. An uproar of protest comes from the students, but he glares at them, his hair rising threateningly, and they go silent once more. Izuku sighs. It's fine. They can stay. It's not like I have anything to hide anymore, he mutters bitterly. Katsuki and Hitoshi duck their heads with shame. Well, I manifested my quirk when I was 13, and whenever I die, I revive. It heals me and everything too. They all watch him with anticipation, expecting him to continue. He doesn't. After a few uncomfortable moments of silence, Kirishima speaks up. How did you manifest it? Like, how did you figure that out? Izuku laughs awkwardly. I jumped off a building. Katsuki bites his trembling lower lip, his gaze fixated on the ground. Hitoshi isn't as quiet. He instantly sits up straighter, staring deeply into Izuku's eyes. Wait, was this after the thing with All Might? Everyone glances at the purple-haired boy with confusion. I knew something was off about that story. They return their eyes to Izuku, who shrinks slightly under the pressure. What's this about All Might? Aizawa asks, his voice a low rumble. It's not important. I'll explain it later. Nobody is satisfied with this answer. Why would you kill yourself? Kirishima's voice is quiet and Izuku has to strain to make out the words. What about your family? Your friends? At this, Izuku laughs uncomfortably once more. I don't really have either. You have friends. We're all your friends. Jiru calls, her voice watery and a bit defensive. I have friends now. I just didn't at the time. Aizawa swallows dryly. You don't have family. Slowly, Izuku shakes his head no. My dad left when I was 5 and my mom left when I was 8. The teacher sucks in a sharp breath and the room stays silent for minutes longer. Kirishima bites his lip, his brows furrowed in worry. Where do you live? Do you have other family? Once again, Izuku shakes his head. I live in an abandoned building I found a while back. It's really not that bad. Wait, Aizawa presses his fingers to his temples. The one that's almost collapsing. Well, it's not almost collapsing. The top layer's already collapsed, but the rest is very stable. That's not any better. Izuku just shrugs. Aizawa sighs. Kaminari hesitantly speaks up. And how many times have you died? He whispers the last part as if it pains him to say it aloud, as if he doesn't want to hear the answer. Let me grab my notebook, I can check. He rummages through his backpack, finding the familiar notebook quickly and flipping to a page near the front. 154 times. Instead of silence this time, there's an array of shouts. 154. What the fuck? That's so many more than last time. How did you die that much? That must have been so hard. Izuku laughs nervously, and Aizawa narrows his eyes at the boy. These were all from patrols. Over the past months. Not particularly. He avoids eye contact, scratching the back of his neck as he glances to the side. What do you mean not particularly? What are they from, then? The teacher's voice is firm, but Izuku can hear the worry behind the words. Well, he glances at his notebook once more. 58 were from patrols, but 23 were suicides. 23. Kirishima yelps from across the room, but quickly slaps a hand over his mouth. Kaminari watches him with wide eyes. Dude, we're your friends. We're here for you if you need anything. Thank you, Kaminari. Anything. Todoroki reiterates, his voice serious. Thank you. Momo returns her gaze back to Izuku from where she was previously staring at the ceiling. Wait, that's not adding up. That only counts for 81 deaths. You said there were 154. There's 73 left still. Shit, I was hoping nobody would notice. Well, it's a little hard to explain. Aizawa raises an unimpressed eyebrow. Give it your best shot. He clears his throat, lowering his gaze once more. So when I die, it rests my body as if I was sleeping, right? And it also heals my body as well. So after patrol I usually will kill myself so that I can heal and rest before the next day. Silence. What? Izuku gulps. He's never heard Aizawa so mad before. It's not like it's suicide though. He rushes to explain, waving his hands frantically. Really, I'm just trying to heal and sleep. If I could heal and sleep without death, I would. It's not like I really want to die anymore. Izuku doesn't know if what he's saying is the truth or not. And from the looks of it, neither do the others. That's still suicide. No, it's really not. It's just a way for me to grow, to improve my quirk. Once again, a painful silence fills the room. Midoriya, Aizawa says, his voice low and almost threatening. I need you to promise me that you won't kill yourself again. Midoriya, I need you to promise me that you won't kill yourself again. Izuku blanks. What is he saying? I can't just not kill myself. I need to sleep, I need to heal, I need to die. That's not fair for him to take away my quirk from me like that. It's not fair. Midoriya. He blinks up at his teacher, not realizing that he had spaced out for a second. I can't promise you that. I need to be able to heal. Revosary girl can help with that. No, that's not enough. Her quirk always has drawbacks. Mine doesn't. Yours doesn't. Itoshi asks, incredulously. Do you not think dying counts as a drawback? It's more of a reward. Instead of waiting for Izuku to answer, Katsuki speaks up. Maybe if you stopped getting into so much fucking trouble, you wouldn't need to heal all the damn time. Izuku blinks at his friend. But, even then, I won't be able to sleep without dying. Jiru speaks up, her voice quiet, but unwavering. You don't get that much sleep with your quirk. Based on what I've heard, you get 3 hours a night? Izuku gulps. More like 3.5. That's still not good. We can get you sleeping medicine, Aizawa says, interrupting whatever comeback Izuku was about to throw back, or something of the sort in order to help you. Suicide is not going to be an option anymore. It's not suicide. Yes, it fucking is. Katsuki practically yells across the room. Izuku scowls at the blonde. Fine, whatever. I fucking promise. Aizawa nods, letting out a breath of relief. He suddenly stands, brushing off his clothes as he does. I need to step out for a moment. Collect my thoughts. The kids nod in understanding as he leaves the room. It's silent for a moment, before Kaminari clears his throat. Did you get all those scars from, dying? Katsuki is quick to smack him in the back of the head, growling something about reading the room, but Izuku is thankful for the lighter topic. Yeah, not all of them though, most are from patrols. He can see Katsuki and Hitoshi watch-eye him with wary eyes as he smiles brightly at his friends, his fake smile barely unnoticeable unless someone was looking for it. Surprisingly, it's Zero who asks the next question. You don't have to answer, obviously, but how did you get the scar on your face? Izuku just laughs. That was one of my first. I'm not completely sure, since I don't have a working mirror at my home, but I think it was after I jumped from a bridge. The atmosphere grows slightly tense at the mention of the suicide, but Izuku pretends not to notice. Can you tell us about your other ones? Todoroki's voice is quiet, hesitant, almost as if he doesn't want to hear what Izuku has to say. The scarred boy just flashes a smile. Of course, without actually thinking, he pulls his shirt off, and there are yells of confusion and protest. Chill out, goddamn. I'm just trying to make it easier to show you guys. After telling stories about the scars, at least the ones he remembers, the atmosphere becomes much more relaxed and comfortable. At one point, he scooches closer to Todoroki, not noticing as the boy turns bright red. Izuku points to a large burn scar on his side. This one's from your dad actually. He's such a bitch. Todoroki flushes more, as if Izuku calling his dad a bitch is hotter than him being in the boy's personal space, shirtless. He also gave me these ones. Izuku points to the burns on his ankle and leg. It was after I kicked him in the face and spit on him. Damn, Zero chuckles. You seem to love antagonizing Endeavor. Oh yeah, you have no idea. I actually got his number and have been texting him like once a week, insulting him and reading him statistics that he hates. He's tried to block me, but I've found my way around it. He winks at Todoroki, who leans back, eyes wide as he blushes a deeper shade of red. Wait, Momo squints her eyes slightly. How did you get the number 2 hero's number? I hacked into the police files, of course. Of course, Hitoshi repeats sarcastically, rolling his eyes. Jiru lightly runs her fingers over the burns on his shoulders, eyebrows drawn together. Were these from Endeavor as well? And suddenly, the fun has been lost. Izuku draws away from her touch, lowering his eyes slightly. Oh no. Those ones are, they're from me. Izuku's head snaps up at Katsuki's voice, his eyes wide with surprise. Kats, why? Don't why me, nerd. He snaps back, but offers no further words. What do you mean they're from Katsuki? Hitoshi watches Izuku with wide, confused eyes. The blonde's eyes snap to meet Izuku's. You didn't tell him. No, it doesn't matter. Izuku's voice is firm, leaving no room for negotiation. It's in the past. Guess how I got this scar? As he pastes on a smile, pointing to a random scar on his stomach, Katsuki glares at him. It does fucking matter. Katsuki, shut up. I'm not fucking dealing with this right now. The blonde tenses at the use of his full name instead of the so familiar nickname, but he doesn't let it go. I don't care. You can't just brush it off like nothing happened. Yes, I fucking can. Izuku practically yells, a terrifying, almost unhinged look in his eye. It's in the past. You apologized. Let it go. Kaminari hesitantly breaks the glares, drawing the attention to him as he speaks. What happened? How did Bakugou cause the scars? I bullied him. Silence fills the room and Izuku struggles to get his breathing under control. Katsuki doesn't stop there, as he digs up all the buried memories in a whisper. We were best friends up until he was diagnosed quirkless. I bullied him. I made his life a living hell. I physically and verbally attacked him. He gulps, the silence pressing down on him. I used my quirk against him. I destroyed his stuff. It was awful. I was awful. He pauses, but nobody interrupts, no matter how long the silence stretches on. The last day I saw him before he left school and disappeared, I burned him, causing those scars, and I told him to kill himself. And he did. He jumped off a building later that day. No. Izuku's words cut through the tense silence, and all eyes snap to him. Don't you fucking dare. We've talked about this. I didn't kill myself because of you. I jumped because of All Might. I wasn't going to before he told me all that shit. Katsuki growls, but before he can speak, Zero pipes up. Are you going to explain the All Might situation? You're kinda leaving us all in the dark here. He chuckles awkwardly, but from the nods of the others in the room, Izuku knows he has to explain. It's not that big of a deal really. I was in a villain attack. And All Might was in a hurry, so he tried to leave, but I was still dizzy and I wanted to ask him a question, so I grabbed onto his leg. I know, it was dumb. But then he dropped me off on a random building's rooftop and I asked if I could be a hero when I was quirkless, and, well, he said no. Said I wouldn't be able to save anyone. Then he left. What? A sharp voice slices through the room before Izuku can say anything else. Shit, when did Aizawa return? Izuku gulps. It wasn't that bad, really. Wasn't that bad. First of all, it was gross negligence of duty. He didn't get a statement, didn't get you checked by medical personnel, and endangered you by taking off when you were attached to his leg. He's the number 1 hero, he should have noticed. Izuku can only stare as his teacher lists off the things that All Might did wrong, his voice carrying a hint of fury that Izuku hasn't heard before. You were the victim of a villain attack, and a child. It's his responsibility as a hero to make sure you were safe, but instead, he left you on a fucking roof. Izuku sucks in a breath of surprise at hearing his teacher curse. But he's not done there. The second offense is him telling you, a child, that you couldn't be a hero. That's just bullshit. A hero should inspire others, not put them down, much less children who look up to them. More silence follows Aizawa's words, the room filled only by the angry breathing of the teacher. He turns, leaving the room once more. I'm going to go. Have a word with All Might. The door slams behind Aizawa and the rest of the students can only watch in stunned silence. Zero clears his throat. Damn, okay. Let's get back to the Actually, all the topics we've gone through were kind of dark. A few students chuckle, but Izuku stands up, his face serious. You guys should leave, but before you go, I have to make something clear. As he speaks, he sends a glare to each of his friends individually. Me and Katz have talked through everything already. I completely forgive him for what happened. He was not completely in the wrong. The fuck? Yes, I was. Izuku glares at the blonde, who quickly snaps his mouth shut and averts his gaze. I never said what you did was right. Or okay in any way, it wasn't. But the teachers never stopped you. Everyone encouraged you to treat me that way. I can't completely blame you for how this broken society taught you to be. Izuku continues to trail his glare around the room, hovering over Hitoshi, who seems to be keeping down his rage toward Katsuki. As his eyes reaches Kirishima, he realizes the redhead has been awfully quiet. His head is drooped, his knees drawn up to his chest as he hugs them protectively. If any of you try and hold this over Kat's head, you'll have to go through me. So don't even fucking think about it. They all nod hastily before Izuku ushers them out of the room, wanting to have some peace and quiet after the long, tiring conversations. But not everyone leaves the room. Hovering by the door, Todoroki waits, watching Izuku with a blank look on his face. What can I help you with, Todoroki? The two-toned boy blinks, confusion crossing his face. You called me Shoto earlier. Why is it Todoroki now? Aw shit, I completely forgot. I'm so sorry, I thought I was dreaming. I shouldn't have. I didn't mean to. Izuku groans, dropping his head into his hands as the words refuse to come out. Why? Why did you try to kiss me in your dream, Izuku? His breath catches at the question, and Todoroki takes a step closer. Izuku subconsciously takes a step back, eyes going wide. You, I wasn't. I was just with a random person, it wasn't you. Todoroki takes another step forward, a sincere, intense look in his eye. Izuku doesn't step back this time. But you said my name. Izuku gulps as Todoroki lifts his hand, hesitantly cupping his freckled cheek. It feels like fireworks are going off from the touch. I did, but it was a coincidence. It wasn't because of you. Todoroki lightly traces the pad of his thumb on Izuku's cheek, who feels as if he's never going to breathe again. His stomach flutters as the tall boy leans slightly closer, his voice low and warm. Was it really? Because if not, I had something I wanted to tell you. Izuku doesn't want to even think about how red his face is right now, though the light pink blush on Todoroki's makes him feel a bit better. Tell me, he practically whispers, hating how breathless his voice sounds. Todoroki draws back his hand, biting his lip as his eyebrows draw together slightly. As he seems to contemplate his words, the blush deepens. I told you earlier, I'm not good at words. That's okay. The offer still stands, Izuku says, ignoring the rapid beating of his heart. You could show me instead. Todoroki breathes in sharply, eyes widening slightly. He takes a half step forward, closing the little distance between them, and reaches out his hand once more, his fingertips lightly brushing over his jaw and cheek, a surge of electricity igniting under his touch, leaving trails of warmth behind. Can I kiss you? His voice is so quiet, such a soft, low murmur that Izuku almost doesn't hear him. He nods, green eyes still locked on beautiful mismatched ones. He leans down, and as Todoroki's lips gently brush against Izuku's, a soft tremor surges through his entire being. Time seems to slow down, and the world around them fades away. The touch of Todoroki's lips slotted against his own is soft and warm. It feels like a spark ignites deep within him, and he can't help but lean in closer. As he deepens the kiss, Todoroki makes a noise of surprise, before reciprocating quickly. After what feels like an eternity, they break apart. Their breaths mingle as Izuku watches the other with wide eyes. Todoroki's cheeks flush a rosy hue, and Izuku's heart pounds even harder in his chest. Izuku lifts his fingers tentatively to his lips, as if scared that none of this was real. But the tingling sensation remains, his stomach fluttering and his breaths heavy. And Todoroki stands in front of him, blushing deeply. And he's real. Izuku smiles. It's real. I need you to show me your house. Shit. Eraserhead glares down at Izuku and the green-haired boy begins to regret not trying harder to avoid his teacher on patrol. You're not supposed to be out here in the first place and you have school in a few hours. Aizawa continues. I might let you get away with it if you show me where you live. I need to make sure you're safe. Izuku groans. I always go on patrol though. I can't suddenly stop now. You can, actually. It does happen to be illegal. And if Nezu found out, you could get kicked out of UA. Shit. Izuku huffs a sigh as he debates it. Fine, but I'm finishing my patrol tonight. I'll meet you back here in an hour. The teacher nods, and the two of them part ways. As soon as he's out of Aizawa's line of view, Izuku frantically whips out his phone. Roomies lesser than 3. Fun-sized green bitch, code red guys. Fun-sized green bitch, if you can't get out of the house, fucking hide. Fun-sized green bitch, Eraserhead's coming over in an hour. Burnt chicken, TF. Why? Stabby stabby, OMG visitors. Why are we hiding? Fun-sized green bitch, Eraser is a hero, Toga. I want you guys to get arrested. Burnt chicken, oh shit, why did you let him come over? Stabby stabby. All no real visitors. Fun-sized green bitch, he's also my teacher and he might have found out about my vigilantism and quirk and past and so now he wants to see where I live at. Burnt chicken, you fucked up big my dude. Burnt chicken, also quirk. I thought you were quirkless. Stabby stabby, is our Zuzu not quirkless? 0, that's so cool. Stabby stabby, 3. Fun-sized green bitch, doesn't matter, we'll talk later. Right now, I need you guys to hide all proof that you live there and that anyone besides me does. Fun-sized green bitch, all proof. Burnt chicken, aye captain. Stabby stabby, okie dokie Zuzu lesser than 3. Fun-sized green bitch, I'll text on the way. Fun-sized green bitch, if you guys do good, I'll buy you both McDonald's. Stabby stabby, OMG McDonald's. SPLS I quote LL clean EVRYTHING. Burnt chicken, oh fuck yeah, I knew you were good for something short fuck. Fun-sized green bitch, I take it back. Dab I gets no McDonald's. Burnt chicken, no I'm sorry I was joking. Burnt chicken, I'll clean everything you need me to. Burnt chicken, please. Stabby stabby, lol are both so cute and funny, / Burnt chicken, stop calling everyone cute, it's weird. Stabby stabby, fun-sized green bitch, don't call her weird dab I. Burnt chicken, sir yes sir. Can I still have my happy meal? Fun-sized green bitch, we'll see. Fun-sized green bitch. Well, welcome to my home. Midoriya exclaims as he does what can only be described as a sad excuse for jazz hands. Shouta swallows dryly as he gazes around the room. It's a small space, a dirty mattress with a few old pillows and ratty blankets on top. Across from the mattress is what could be called a bathroom. There's a shattered mirror above a rusty sink and a toilet beside it. In the middle of the room is an old couch, in front of it sitting a beat-up coffee table. There are scorch marks on half the items in the room, which makes Shouta feel unsunger. A few boxes sit across from the door, but they're unlabeled. In the back corner, behind the couch, the floor looks completely soaked with dried blood. Shouta has seen the scars on the problem child's wrists. He knows what it's most likely from. There's nothing on the walls, besides dust and cobwebs, along with what looks like mold in one of the corners and a lopsided Hawks poster. Shouta's heart aches for Midoriya. How long have you lived here? He asks in a whisper. Midoriya pinches his bottom lip in thought. Well, I got kicked out at 8 and was on the streets until I found this place at age 9, so that would be about 5 years. The fact that this kid is so unbothered by this makes Shouta only feel worse. And why were you kicked out again? I wasn't really kicked out, more like abandoned. My mom didn't want to take care of a quirkless child anymore, so she left. I'm not sure where. But after a month of being in the house, I didn't have the money to pay rent or anything, so I left. I sold all the stuff she left in there so I was able to get food and go to school still. Shouta nods. How could anyone abandon someone like this? And what about now? How do you get money and food now? Midoriya hesitates. Do I really have to tell you? I would prefer if you did. I want to make sure you're safe, that you're not selling yourself or... No. The kid straightens instantly, eyes wide as he waved his hands around. I don't do that anymore, don't worry. I wasn't able to get a job while being quirkless, but I found a place where I can train and make money. It's really harmless. Anymore. He said anymore. Shit. Shouta has to take deep breaths in order to calm down his breathing, which has sped up significantly. Okay, and do you keep food here? You visit a lot on the weekends. The green hair bobs as he nods hurriedly. In this box, I have lots of canned foods and long-lasting preserved stuff that I bought. The emphasis on the word bought makes Shouta think it was anything but. As he glances into the box, his heart twists even more. There's a few cans of beans and corn, along with some preserved meat and snacks. None of it is enough food to make a meal. Shouta sighs, taking a seat on the old couch. As he does, his foot bumps against something on the ground and he leans to pick it up. Burn cream. What's this for? Midoriya instantly tenses, before forcing himself to smile and relax. Oh, I run into Endeavor a lot. Gotta be prepared. The smile doesn't reach his eyes. Is he hiding something? What about all the scorch marks on the couch and table? I love fire. It's so fun, right? Besides, Katz has been over a lot and you know how he is. Although it seems reasonable, something about the way the problem child answers puts Shouta on edge. He sighs once more. I'm going to go back now. You need to rest in order for school tomorrow. He stands and makes his way toward the door, but before he exits, he turns and smiles softly at the problem child. I need to talk to Hisashi about something. You shouldn't be living like this. I'm going to get you out of here. I promise. Izuku watches as his teacher leaves, promising to be back at the dorms after he collects his thoughts. After a few minutes, when he's sure the teacher is gone, he calls out to the not-so-empty room. Alright, you guys can come out now. In an instant, a large pace of rubble falls to the floor and both Dabai and Toga tumble out of a not big enough hole in the wall that was hidden by a large poster bought by Dabai. Oh thank God, the older man huffs. I didn't know how much longer I could hold up that wall. Zuzu, your teacher was so cute. He seemed so worried about you. The blonde bounds over, throwing her arms around his neck in a hug. He hugs her back before giving Dabai an unimpressed eyebrow raise. Was that really the best place you could think of to hide? If I hadn't kept him distracted, he would have noticed. And you left your burn cream out, asshat. The man rolls his eyes. Yeah, we were getting our stuff out when you were suddenly right outside. I had to be quick, so I just stuffed her in the wall. It was fun. Really dark and spooky. Izuku can only laugh at this before nodding his head toward the door. Alright you two, let's go get McDonald's. The two of them cheer before following the green-haired boy out the door and down the road. After paying for their food and sitting in the empty store, Dabai speaks up. So, are you gonna tell us about how you're apparently not quirkless? Yeah, Toga pouts. We're supposed to be friends, family, which means no big secrets like that. Izuku notices as Dabai winces, but he doesn't question it. We can take turns sharing. The green sighs. I'm not quirkless, but my quirk is not normal. I can't die. Silence. Dabai breaks the second with a scoff. The fuck does that mean? I can't die, he reiterates. I've tried, it doesn't work. I always revive. Toga nods exaggeratedly. That makes sense. My turn. It's not really a secret, but you guys should call me Himiko. It's my first name. The other two nod. Then Dabai speaks, his eyes focused on the table. I escaped an abusive household before I was kicked out. I'm not ready to tell you guys my real name yet. I've died 154 times. Izuku adds once it reaches his turn again. I drank a bird's blood when I was younger and it was actually really tasty. I only regret it a little bit. My hair's naturally white. 98 of my deaths were suicide. My parents kicked me out after they found out about my quirk and put me in foster care. I was kicked out of all my homes though. I grew up with the hero commissions but ran away after I was kicked out by my dad. I had my first real kiss yesterday. You what? Toga no. Himiko is on her feet in an instant, both hands planted firmly on the table. Who did you kiss? She practically shrieks. Ooh, the green beans finally made a move on that guy he's been crushing on, Dabai taunts, wiggling his eyebrows. Izuku can feel his face growing hot, but he still glares at the scarred man. Who was it? Tell me, Zuzu. He clears his throat. It was Todoroki, but he told me to call him Shoto. He flushes more, ducking his head as Himiko shrieks once more. From the corner of his eye, he notices Dabai tense, eyes going wide before he forces the disinterested look back on his face. OMG, tell me, what happened? Izuku stutters out an explanation, his face only growing more red as he speaks, and the others listen intently. He can't help but feel like he's finally found a family. Once back in his room, Izuku thinks back to the talk he had with his friends before he left for patrol. Hey man, Kirishima smiles tentatively. Me and the others wanted to check on you and make sure you're going to be alright. Izuku blinks. Why wouldn't I be? Well, the redhead scratches his neck awkwardly, and Izuku can feel the reluctancy behind his words. We just wanted to make sure you wouldn't, kill yourself again tonight. I know you promised Aizawa-sensei, but we just wanted to double check. Izuku flashes a bright smile. I won't. The green-haired boy laughs humorlessly to himself as he watches the blood from his forearms drip into the waiting containers below. It's not like they're gonna know, he mumbles to himself, a smile teasing his lips. It doesn't do any harm. A few hours earlier, Aizawa watches as Midoriya retreats into his room, a bright smile still plastered on. A fake smile. He sighs, pulling out his phone. Fucker's lesser than 33. Manliest of mans. I talked with Moribro and he said he wouldn't, but how much I believe him. Manliest of mans. It was kinda scary how easily he lies, tbh. Pika pika, yay, Mido can be pretty scary at times. Insomniac. Understatement of the year. Ox cord. I'll check on him tonight, DW. Manliest of mans. Thank you, Jiru. Queen shit, let us know, girl. Aizawa exits out of the chat, only to see a set of other messages. He desperately wants to ignore them, but his curiosity gets the best of him. Bakugou, shitty hair, can we talk? Bakugou, I know you probably don't want to RN, but it's important. Bakugou, text me back. Aizawa sets down his phone. He doesn't want to talk to Bakugou right now. Katsuki glares at the phone on his floor. Great, it's fucking cracked. After checking for what felt like the 100th time, he was still left on read by Kirishima. Fucking hair for brains. He glances at the time. 12:32 a.m. Shit, I need to sleep. He stares at his bed for a second, knowing he's not getting any sleep when his mind is filled with the terrifying thought that Kirishima might never talk to him again. Katsuki growls as he storms out of his room, not caring enough to be quiet. What's this angry blonde going to do downstairs at 12:30 in the morning? That's easy. He's going to bake the tastiest fucking bread to ever be seen. And he's going to do it with spite. In all honesty, he knows his anger is directed at himself, but he would never admit that to anyone, especially not himself. As Katsuki angrily kneads the dough, he talks in quiet curses. Fuck you, fucking shitty hair. I don't need you to fucking respond to me anyways. I don't need you. I don't need any of these fucking extras. They don't fucking matter. He slams down the metal tin, not caring how the noise reverberates through the kitchen. Fucking to Izuku, going and getting yourself killed. Fuck you for standing up for me. Like hell, it's not my fucking fault. The fuck did you mean by that? He shoves the bread into the oven, setting the timer with far too aggressive button presses before he begins to make another loaf. Of course it was my goddamn fault. I fucking bullied your helpless ass. Who else's fault would that even be? By the time he's on his third loaf, it's nearly 3:30 a.m. His phone dings loudly in the quiet kitchen, which is only filled by his angry mutters and aggressive movements. Katsuki instantly drops the dough he was making for cinnamon rolls, not caring how desperate he looks as he lurches across the counter to grab his phone. Fuck, not shitty hair. As he's about to set his phone back down, he glances at the message again and curses. Ears, Izuku died again. He promised he wouldn't. I don't know what to do. Ears, should I get Aizawa? Katsuki huffs in frustration before aggressively typing a response. You, go the fuck to sleep. We'll deal with the fucker tomorrow. He ignores the response, turning his attention back to his cinnamon rolls. As he continues to curse under his breath, he hears footsteps. Katsuki freezes, making eye contact with a surprised purple-haired boy. The fuck are you doing up? I begs. Hitoshi raises an eyebrow. I could ask you the same. He has a blanket wrapped around his shoulders and his headphones pulled half off one ear. Katsuki snarls at the boy. I already claimed the kitchen for tonight. Fuck off. Mindfuck shrugs, propping himself up onto the closest counter. Why are you up so late? I thought you slept early. The blonde glares. Couldn't sleep. Why are you up? He shrugs again. Couldn't sleep. Katsuki continues to cook in silence, but Hitoshi isn't letting it go. Did you get the message from Jiru? Is that why you're up? Do you think I could bake all this bread within the last 10 fucking minutes? I begs. I'll take that as a no. Fuck no. So why? Katsuki slams down a hand, hoping to hide the involuntary sparks that emit from his palm. Fucking drop it, mindfuck. I don't want to talk about it. Hitoshi just sighs. You didn't cover your arms up. Huh? My arms? The fuck are you? Shit. Katsuki turns around instantly, searching frantically for anything to hide his fresh burn wounds under. Shit. How could I be so fucking careless? What the fuck do I do? He doesn't realize his breathing is speeding up until Hitoshi calls out to him again. It's okay, take deep breaths. Here, he tosses his blanket to the blonde who instantly wraps it around his shoulders with a glare. What the fuck do you want from me? I don't want anything. Hitoshi sighs, looking away from Katsuki. I don't know how to fucking do this shit. What? That was not what he was expecting. I don't know how to do friendship. I don't do friends. I've never had friends until Izu came along and brought me to you and the rest of UA. I don't know how to deal with this shit. My two closest friends, don't even try to deny it, are now suicidal or not doing well and I don't know what the fuck to do. Katsuki stays silent in shock, which is a bad idea since he knows Ibags rambles when he's sleep deprived. And sure, I've thought about dying before, who hasn't? But, many people, mindfuck. But I don't know how to deal with it when it's actually real. I'd never actually off myself, it's just been an occasional thought, right? But Izu's up there killing himself every goddamn night and then you're here hurting yourself too and I don't know what to do. Katsuki bites the inside of his cheek. I'm fine, I begs. Worry about Izuku instead. A purple-haired boy just raises an eyebrow and his eyes drift to the sliver of visible burns that the blanket didn't cover, and Katsuki instantly yanks it tighter around his shoulders. Hitoshi sighs, looking back at the ground. I just don't know what to do. With a roll of his eyes and a feeling of guilt building in his stomach, Katsuki returns to kneading the dough. For Izuku, just be there for him. Don't force him to do anything. Just support him and let him know you care. That's all he needs. And for you, I don't need anything. I'm fine. Hitoshi sighs again but hops off the counter offering a sideways smile at the blonde. Go to bed soon then. Sleep helps everything. Katsuki scoffs. You're one to talk. As he watches Mindfuck retreat to his room, he returns his attention to the dough. It's fine. I'll sleep after I finish another loaf. Mina glares at the clock next to her bed. It was supposed to be her one day to sleep in, but she's not been able to sleep past 6 since school started. With a sigh, she decides that maybe it's time to accept her fate. She throws the covers off her and pulls on a pair of shorts before slipping through the door. As she quietly skips down the stairs, humming softly, something gets her attention as she reaches the main floor. The kitchen is a mess, she exclaims, eyes going wide. Who was cooking last night? As she hurries around the counter, she freezes. On the floor, with only a small blanket on top of him, Bakugou lays, fast asleep. His hair is messier than normal, sticking up in places it's usually more calm. He has flour on his cheeks and clothes and a peaceful look on his face. Mina slowly snaps a few pictures before glancing around the kitchen. 3 loaves of bread sit out, along with a set of cinnamon rolls. How long was he baking for? As she gets closer to Bakugou, crouching down, something catches her eye. Under the blanket, just barely visible, his skin is red and blistered. A burn. Hesitantly, against better judgment, she reaches her hand out, but as soon as her fingers brush the edge of the blanket, the beast awakens. With a shout, he throws her backward, palms crackling loudly. As she hits the floor, she just barely notices as the blanket falls down more, revealing what's most definitely a set of burns on top of already present burn scars. Bakugou quickly yanks the blanket back up, glaring at the pink girl. "The fuck are you doing, raccoon face?" She just stares at him. "Me, you're the one who was asleep in the kitchen at 6 a.m. Bakugou's red eyes widen in panic. 6 a.m., he mutters to himself, turning to find a clock. He curses under his breath when he realizes she's telling the truth. "Babe," Mina starts hesitantly. "Did you sleep down here?" He scoffs but looks away. "So fucking what? I was baking and got tired. It's not a big deal." She must be wearing a look of disbelief, because when his gaze returns to her, Bakugou just growls. He thrusts out his hand and for a moment, Mina is unsure of what he's doing. "Are you gonna get off the dirty floor or are you planning on staying down there, fuckface?" Mina smiles, taking his hand and successfully pulling herself up. "Aw, you do care." He just scowls. "No, I fucking don't." "Don't lie," she coos, attempting to wrap her arms around him as he struggles to shove her off. "You know you love me. Fuck off. I hate you." Izuku wakes up slowly, thankful for it being Friday already. He slowly trudges down to the ground floor, grabbing a cup from the kitchen. Already in the room, Shiro and Kaminari are teasing Katsuki as Mina sits on the counter with a smug smile. "Where'd all this bread come from?" Izuku questions, glancing at the 3 large loaves. "One is already half gone. Bakugou baked it for us." Kaminari pokes the angry blonde's face and Katsuki slaps his hand away. "Fuck you. I didn't bake it for you." Izuku smirks. "Were you stress baking again?" Shiro's smile grows wider and Kaminari stares at the blonde with his mouth agape. "Again, stress baking." Katsuki growls at Izuku, and he notices the dark eye bags under his eyes. "Stress baking is only for really bad things, though. I wonder, did you get any sleep at all?" Katsuki clamps his jaw shut and looks away from the prying green eyes. "I found him in the kitchen this morning actually," Mina informs, swinging her legs cheerfully. "He was passed out on the floor with only a blanket." Something flashes in her face, but Izuku doesn't quite understand why. "Fuck both of you, fuck all of you." Katsuki storms out of the room. Izuku and the rest follow him out, Shiro grabbing the half loaf to bring in the other room. As Izuku takes a seat next to Yororaka, he begins to feel as if everyone's staring at him. Of course, not everyone is staring, but as he sneakily steals glances at his friends, he notices as Jiro, Katsuki, and Hitoshi glare at him while Momo, Todoroki, Kaminari, and Shiro watch him with worried eyes. What the fuck is going on? They must notice that he caught them. Seeing as they all lean slightly closer together, their stares intensify. Jiro is the first to explain. "I heard you last night. You're not subtle." "Shit." He ignores the curious glances from Yororaka and his other friends, instead deciding to stare down at his hands. "Are you all right, Izuku?" Momo's voice is softer than Jiro's, but he doesn't like that tone either. "I'm fine, guys. Really." Almost just sigh, Kaminari smiles at him. "Then I guess it's time we made it official. The Izuku Protection Squad will commence tonight." "What the fuck is that?" Yororaka watches Izuku with wide eyes, not used to hearing him curse. Before Ada can correct his language, Izuku decides it's best to remove himself from this situation. He stands abruptly, causing Kaminari's smile to falter, and storms off to the kitchen. Katsuki follows, along with the listening ears of the rest of his classmates. "Izuku, this is serious. If you don't stop, then we're going to have to force it." "Force it? What the fuck does that even mean, Kats?" The blonde huffs. "We're going to have someone stay with you at night until you fucking stop." Izuku is silent for a moment. The only noise filling the ground floor is the hesitant scraping of forks as the class continues to pretend to be eating and not eavesdropping. "You can't fucking do that." "Yes, we fucking can. You need help." Izuku can feel the rage boiling in his veins. "I don't want your fucking help. I didn't ask for it. I don't need help. Don't give me that shit." Katsuki snaps back, taking a threatening step forward. "You do. You've needed help since this shit began, since before it began. Don't pretend to be all high and mighty now. You're not fucking above needing help." That's when Izuku punches him. He doesn't think, just throws his arm out, his fist connecting harshly with Katsuki's jaw. Before he can land another punch though, Kirishima and Todoroki are grabbing him, pulling him away from Katsuki. The blonde stumbles backward, eyes angry, but he doesn't return the hit. Nonetheless, Kaminari and Zero watch him wearily from the side, as if afraid he might attack at any moment. You can't fucking control me. I don't need help. I'm not above it. I just don't fucking need your goddamn help. Izuku is fully aware that he's yelling. He knows the whole class can hear him, but he doesn't care. Katsuki yells right back. Yes, you fucking do. That's not fucking healthy. Izuku narrows his eyes, gritting his teeth. His voice is loud, but he's not yelling. Instead, his voice is scarily even. Don't talk to me about healthy, Katsuki. I've seen your fucking arms. Katsuki returns the previous favor, landing a fierce blow to his face. Izuku saw the punch coming from a mile away. He could have dodged it. The two boys are barely holding on to him anymore. He could easily dodge it. But he didn't. It hits him painfully square in the face, but Izuku doesn't stumble back. His nose begins to bleed, but he grins at Katsuki. That struck a nerve, didn't it? Because you know I'm right. Don't fucking talk to me. Something's wrong with you. You're so fucking messed up in the head. You think killing yourself is healthy. He yanks himself out of Kirishima and Todoroki's grip, catching them by surprise, and launches himself at Katsuki. He lands a few solid blows before he's being yanked off of the blonde once more, and Katsuki lands some as well. There's yelling all around him, but he doesn't listen to it. The only thing he can hear is his ragged breathing and his heart thumping in his ears. He glares at Katsuki as Zero and Ida try desperately to hold the blonde back. Izuku doesn't fight against his restraints. He lets himself get dragged out of the kitchen. He jerks himself out of the hold, glaring at the two boys as he wipes the blood from his face with the back of his hand. Glancing at the table in front of him, he sees half the class watching Katsuki continue to struggle, while the rest watch him with wide, uncertain eyes. Izuku looks away. He doesn't like being looked at like that. He storms up to his room, aggressively throwing on his school uniform and applying band-aids and gauze to his face before he leaves to go back downstairs. Uraraka is the first person he passes. Izuku, what happened? What was he talking about? He ignores her questions and worried gaze, storming past her and trying to keep his gaze on the floor so he doesn't misplace his glare onto her. The rest of the school day, Izuku ignores his classmates, only glaring at the back of Katsuki's head as the rest of the class not so subtly watches him with weary eyes. It's beginning to piss him off. Why am I the only one not allowed to be angry? Cats can be angry and nobody bats an eye. Itoshi freaks out and everyone treats him normally. Hell, even when Jiru gets upset nobody stares at her weirdly. He angrily picks at his paper, not bothering to even listen as Midnight talks. I'm a human, I can get angry too. Why are you all staring at me? I just need you all to mind your goddamn business. Stop looking at me. He squeezes his eyes closed, trying to even his breathing as the class carries on, but he doesn't have much luck. At lunch, he decides he can still sit in his regular spot, which he will come to regret quite soon. Sitting with a group of blunt people when you don't want to talk isn't always the best idea. What was that fight with Bakugou about? Suyu watches him with wide, curious eyes. He mentions something being unhealthy, Kiro. Izuku glares at her, but she remains unfazed. It was fucking nothing. Uraraka turns to look at him with a shocked look, but Ida speaks before she gets the chance. Midoriya, you need to watch your language when you're talking to your fellow classmates. It's extremely. Cut it out. He interrupts, his voice louder than he intended it to be. I just need everyone to stop fucking staring at me. Just shut up. Ida complies, his mouth closing slowly as he watches with a concerned gaze. Izuku tries to ignore the way Todoroki stares holes into him from across the table. Itoshi's voice is firm, making him snap to attention. You need to chill out. I'm serious. Izuku huffs a sigh but remains quiet for the rest of the lunch, his friends eventually carrying on with conversations that don't involve the events of the morning. The rest of the day goes by quickly, and as soon as school ends, Izuku locks himself in his room, silencing his phone and glaring down at his homework. I can't fucking wait for patrol. I need to beat something up. Aizawa slowly trudges back to his room. He can't stop shaking from using his quirk so much. He knows it's an unhealthy way to deal with his emotions, letting his friends use their quirks on him until his skin is literally falling off his bones, but he found it to be the most useful distraction. Unfortunately for him, the thing he needs distraction from happens to be sitting in front of his door. His fists clench, still trembling slightly by his side as he walks up to his door. I don't want to talk to you right now. Bakugou looks up at him, startled by his sudden appearance, and quickly scrambles out from in front of his door. But he takes a deep breath as if collecting his thoughts. I just want to know what happened. Please. Aizawa bites his lip, his memories returning to what Midoriya had told him about. I heard about what happened in middle school. I can't deal with that right now. I just need space to think. Bakugou nods, although reluctantly, and Aizawa enters his room, closing the door on the blonde boy. His eyes were red. Has he been crying? He shakes his head, ridding his mind of the thought. Bakugou doesn't cry. He probably thinks it makes him weak or something. The image of the explosive blonde flashes in his mind once more, eyes puffy with dark circles beneath. Manly people cry. Everyone needs to cry sometimes. Shouta scans the rooftops meticulously, watching for any sign of Nightfall. He knows the kid will likely try to avoid him, considering it is against school rules to leave the dorms without permission. Not to mention that vigilantism is illegal. It does take a while, but Shouta eventually spots a small, dark figure bounding around the rooftops in the distance. Gotcha. The hero quickly makes his way over, finding Nightfall perched on the roof of a tall building. The sight is much more concerning knowing the boy's suicidal tendencies. Seeming to notice the hero, along with his thoughts, Nightfall tilts his head back, glancing at his teacher. Don't worry, sensei. I'm not planning on jumping. Shouta suppresses the urge to roll his eyes. Obviously, he's using this as a lookout. That's typical for nearly all nighttime heroes. Although he doesn't have to be as close to the edge as he is, Shouta knows he's only doing his job. You sound extra snarky today, kid. Bad day. Nightfall scoffs. It was fucking peaky. You know I'm still your teacher, right? No shit. Though I'm sure if you were going to report me to Nedzu you would have done it already. Shouta can't rebuke that fact, so he sighs instead, placing himself down on the roof next to the troubled Vigilante. I need to talk to you about something serious, kid. If you're here to tell me not to kill myself, don't. I've gotten that lecture 100 times today already. That wasn't my goal, but if I need to join the 100 others, I'll gladly do so. You're not still doing that, are you? Nightfall pauses, the silence stretching longer than anyone telling the truth would let it. Shouta shifts uncomfortably beside the kid. No, I'm not. Yeah, real convincing. What were you going to talk to me about then? Shouta gathers up his will, making sure his mask of uninterested and unaffected hero stays on as he speaks. I spoke with Hisashi about your living conditions and we were both wondering if you would want to come live with us. Nightfall is silent for a moment as he stares at the hero with uncertain, untrusting eyes. What? Are you being serious? Of course I am. I wouldn't joke about something like that. You deserve to have a home that consists of more than just a half-fallen apart building. During breaks, and after school gets out, we want you to stay with us. If you want, that is. Nightfall seems shocked, his eyes flickering over Shouta's face as if checking for lies. Shouta has nothing to hide. I don't know. I need to think about it. Shouta nods. Of course, take your time in giving us the answer. You might already know, but Hitoshi also lives with us. This time, Nightfall nods. Yeah, I know that. I'll let you know. And without a final goodbye, the Vigilante jumps from the roof, landing softly on a close-by building below. Shouta sighs. God, I hope he says yes to the offer. He needs a safe home more than anyone. Aizawa's eyes fly open as the soft crackling sound of explosions from the other side of his wall. Explosions. What time is it? He's used to hearing Bakugou's quirk throughout the day, but normally it stops after the boy goes to sleep. 3 a.m. Why is he still awake? He listens closely, pressing his ear against the shared wall. The dorm walls have always been thin, but Bakugou has always been one to sleep early, so it's never been a problem in the past. Sure enough, more explosions go off in the other room. Nothing is being thrown. There are no curses, no yelling. Simply small explosions. What? Aizawa thinks back to the argument from earlier in the morning. That's not fucking healthy. Don't talk to me about healthy, Katsuki. I've seen your fucking arms. At first, he doesn't understand why his mind brought back that memory, but then another pops into his head. I'm worried, Kiri. There were so many scars when I saw it, even just in the split second before he pulled the blanket up. And some weren't even scarred over yet. I don't know where they're from. What if they were self-inflicted burns? Mina had come knocking on his door at 6:30 in the morning, saying she found Bakugou sleeping on the floor and saw something worrying. Shit, he wouldn't, would he? Guilt surges in his chest and Aizawa shakes his head, attempting to clear his mind. After a few more moments of tense silence, he decides it's the best idea to contact someone who's known Bakugou for much longer than he has. Hey, do you forgive Bakugou? The response comes shockingly quickly. Midori bro, yeah, I do. Midori bro, what's up? I used to be bullied and so I'm just not sure how to handle all this. Midori bro, I completely understand. I know Katz did some really fucked up shit, but I was telling the truth when I said it wasn't completely his fault. Midori bro, our teachers would encourage his behavior, so would his friends. His mom's always been overly aggressive and she's where he learned half the stuff he said and did to me. Midori bro, I've completely forgiven him already. I know he's doing so much better and he's really, really trying hard to be a good person and friend. Midori bro, don't hold it over his head too long, Kiri. Thank you, I want. Get some rest. Try to actually sleep tonight, bro. Midori bro, haha, thank you. You should too. Aizawa sets down his phone, contemplating what to do. After hearing a few more small explosions from the other side of the wall, he finally makes up his mind. It only takes a minute for him to pull on a shirt and reach Bakugou's door once he's decided, but it all happened so fast. The redhead stays frozen with his fist raised for a few seconds before taking a few deep breaths and forcing himself to knock. At first, there's nothing. The room falls silent. No movement or sound can be heard. He knocks again. This time, Ijiru could hear rustling around and muttered cursing. There are loud footsteps and lots of movement. Ijiru's unsure of what to think. Go the fuck away. It's 3 in the goddamn morning. Bakugou's loud voice calls from the locked room. It sounds slightly shaky. Ijiru just knocks again. I said go away. This time, he hardens his fist to knock, making the sound much louder and more aggressive as it echoes through the empty hallway. You're not winning this one, Bakugou. Finally, with a loud string of curses, Bakugou swings the door open. His hair is a mess and he wears a large, long-sleeve sweater that looks like he shoved it on just moments earlier. The blonde glares up at Ijiru. What the fuck do you want? Ijiru swallows dryly. He didn't think this far ahead. Katsuki stares down at his red, throbbing arms. It's not enough. He needs more. He tries to set explosions over the already raw skin, but that's nearly too much. I need to still be able to move tomorrow. Choose a better spot, idiot. He's huddled in the back corner of his room, staying as far away from his shared wall with shitty hair as he can. After a moment of debating, he sets his hand on his forearm. I'll just wear long sleeves for a while. It'll be fine. The explosions are louder than he intended, but the pain that shoots through his body is enough to ground him. This is what I deserve. Izuku had to go through it, so you have to too. It's only fair. You don't deserve sympathy. You deserve the pain. You deserve. A quiet knock cuts through Katsuki's thoughts and he freezes. Shit, I was too loud. He had hoped that it would be late enough that nobody would hear, but clearly that wasn't the case. He stays frozen, not even allowing himself to breathe as he waits, hoping whoever is outside his room goes away. They don't. Instead, they knock again. Katsuki decides that they aren't going to leave, so he lurches out of his bed, rummaging through his drawers for the first aid kit that all UA students are required to keep. Go the fuck away. It's 3 in the goddamn morning. He yells at whoever it is, hoping that his voice will scare them off. It doesn't. As the person knocks again, Katsuki hastily wraps bandages around his throbbing arm, gritting his teeth in pain as he goes, not caring how sloppy the work is. I said go away. As he grabs the closest long-sleeve shirt he can find, the person knocks much louder this time, practically banging on his door. Does this fucker not know how to use his words? He curses loudly as he stomps toward the door, swinging it open angrily. What he doesn't expect is to see Kirishima in front of the door, a look on his face that Katsuki can't understand. The redhead's hair is down and messy, and he wears a determined glint in his eye. Katsuki forces himself to be more calm than he feels as he speaks. What the fuck do you want? Shitty hair gulps, standing frozen. Katsuki quickly double-checks that all his bandages are covered up. They are, thank God. That's when the taller boy finally speaks. Can I come in? Right now? At 3 a.m., Shitty hair nods, as if not noticing the incredulous tone of his voice. With a huff, Katsuki steps out of the way, allowing the other in for some reason. Kirishima sits at the end of his bed and Katsuki leans against the back wall. Also on the bed, his legs drawn up to his chest. He hopes Kirishima doesn't notice his red eyes. The uncomfortable silence stretches on for a while longer before Shitty hair finally speaks up. I know you've changed and you're a better person now. Katsuki tenses. Shit, that's what this is about. I used to be bullied, so it was hard for me to come to terms with having an old bully as a friend. I won't forgive you for what happened in the past, but we can move forward and still be friends. I trust that you're trying to do better. Katsuki lets out a breath he didn't know he had been holding, his head drooping forward slightly. Oh, thank God, he breathes. That's all I wanted to say. I hope I didn't cause you too much distress over how I was acting. Kirishima begins to stand, but Katsuki reaches out without thinking, latching onto the hem of his shirt. No, I deserved it. You didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to leave. I'm not angry at you. He ignores how desperate he sounds and how Kirishima's eyes widen in surprise. The redhead sits back down, slightly closer than before. He smiles for the first time that night and Katsuki tries to push away the butterflies in his stomach. I'm not leaving because of that. It's just really early in the morning. His face shifts, a new look that Katsuki doesn't understand in his eyes. Why are you up so late? Why are you up so late? He retorts, childishly. Because my neighbor was being noisy and I decided to confront him about it. Katsuki tenses. He heard. I was upset and felt like I needed to get out some energy. What did you explode? He knows. Katsuki tries to push down the fear that crawls under his skin. Just the fucking air, dumbass. Kirishima hums in acknowledgement. Do you think you'll be able to sleep now? He hesitates. Will he be able to? Maybe. A terrible idea comes into his mind, but despite how hard he tries to push it away, it remains. Before he can stop himself, he blurts it out. Can you stay? Kirishima's eyes widen in shock before he smiles again. Of course. I'll set out a futon or whatever. I have one in my closet. Before the blonde can retrieve it though, Kirishima smiles at him again, tilting his head. I mean, I don't mind sharing a bed with my bro if you don't. Shit. Bad idea. Abandon mission. Retreat. Say no. I don't fucking care. Shit. Kirishima absolutely beams. And Katsuki begins to regret his decision even more. As the redhead climbs over to where he sits, laying down as close to the wall as he can, Katsuki's heart flutters. Shit. This is not good. Fuck. As he lies down, he forces his eyes to close, trying desperately to ignore the heat radiating from Kirishima and praying his heartbeat isn't as loud as it sounds to him. It's not like I haven't slept near him before. He was practically on me in Ear's room. But that was someone else's room. And on the floor. This is my room. And we're on my bed. Shit. Aizawa wakes up to his phone chiming. With a groan, he tries to reach up to grab it. His arm doesn't move. What? He keeps his eyes closed, not wanting to wake too much, and tries to move his arm again. It still refuses to budge, almost as if something was on it. After a few more futile attempts, Aizawa decides to try his other arm. This one works better. He reaches into his pocket and finally opens his eyes. He squints at the bright screen, seeing a text from Jiro about Midoriya killing himself again. With a sigh, he tosses his phone off the bed. That's when he notices the head of ashen blonde hair that's resting on his chest. He blinks once, twice, attempting to clear his vision. It stays the same. Bakugou is lying on his chest. What the hell? He racks his memory for an explanation. And when the memories of the previous night resurface, he closes his eyes with a groan. What did I get myself into? He can feel his cheeks beginning to flush, even though he knows the other is still asleep. At least, he hopes he is. God, he's going to freak out when he wakes up. Aizawa debates untangling the two of them and moving the blonde off him, but he decides that's not a good idea. So instead, he stays still. He's half on his side and back. Bakugou curled up against him with his arms wrapped around his waist. Their legs are tangled together and part of Bakugou's weight rests on Aizawa's arm. That explains why I couldn't move it. As he decides to go back to sleep, something catches his eye before he closes them. Bakugou's too large sweater is slightly falling off his shoulder, but skin isn't the majority of what peeks out from beneath the fabric. Instead, bandages do. Aizawa's heart clenches as he sees the red at the top of his shoulder, the skin looking burned and blistered. He had hoped it wasn't actually true. God, how's he going to deal with this in the morning? Should he mention it? Ignore it? Should he offer to help? No, Bakugou hates pity. With a sigh, Kirishima lets his eyes close once more, allowing sleep to wash over him as the worry claws at the back of his mind. Tomorrow. I'll think it through tomorrow. Katsuki wakes up slowly, the light from his open blinds dancing behind his eyelids. It's the weekend, making it one of the only days when he doesn't have to awaken at the crack of dawn. What he's not expecting, however, is to wake up with his face squashed against something solid, against Kirishima's chest. He takes a split second to process what's happening. Their legs are intertwined, head on Shitty Hair's chest, arms wrapped around him. They're cuddling. As soon as he processes this, he begins to freak out, face burning at the realization. Katsuki tries to maneuver himself out from the embrace of the other. He tries to pull back, but Kirishima's arm is around his waist, pulling him closer. He tries to remove his legs, but they're so tangled he can barely tell which are his and which are Kirishima's. So he does the only thing he can think of. He rips himself out of the embrace with so much force that he falls to the ground with a painful thud. Kirishima wakes with a start, the sudden noise and lack of warmth shocking him out of his sleep. His skin hardens as he quickly scans the room for any potential danger, but seeing none, his eyes land on Katsuki. The blonde is half on the floor, half on the bed, a horrified, blushing face staring directly at Kirishima. He releases his quirk with a grin. Good morning, Bakugou. You alright? Katsuki stands with a growl, wishing his blush would go away. Fuck off, Shitty Hair. Kirishima's smile doesn't falter as he gets out of bed, making his way to the door. It's already 10. We should head down for breakfast. Katsuki nods with a scowl. Fucking fine. As the two boys exit the elevator, they're met with overwhelming chatter. Most of the class is already downstairs, spread out between the 3 rooms. The two of them head to the kitchen, where a group of students seem to be holding a lively discussion. Babe, Kiri, you guys finally made it, Mina exclaims cheerfully. We were about to start without you. Go ahead, Katsuki grunts, not sparing her a glance. I don't fucking care. Kirishima grabs the back of his shirt as he tries to walk off, pulling him toward the rest of the group. Katsuki lets him. He doesn't know why he lets the redhead drag him around like a dog, but he does. Eyebags notices this with a smirk and eyebrow raise, causing Katsuki to blush and swat Kirishima's hand away. Fucking extras. Okay, the Izuku Protection Squad meeting has begun. Dunt's face announces loudly. We should all create a schedule about when we're willing to watch him. So everyone, tell your availability and Zero will write it down. I will. Kaminari shoves a whiteboard and marker into Soy Sauce's hand. Oh okay, I will. I can't do Saturdays. It's girls' night usually. I have manga nights on Wednesdays. I can't do then. I would rather not do Mondays or Fridays. The group continues to list off their availability as Zero frantically writes down the never-ending demands of his friends. They're also engrossed in creating this schedule. That Katsuki's the only one to notice as 3 students peek into the kitchen, not so subtly listening in. The fuck do you want? They jump, startled at getting called out. And the rest of the group turns and stares at them, equally as startled. We didn't mean to interrupt, Floaty says shyly. We've noticed you all are participating in something called the Izuku Protection Squad. Glasses chops his hands as he speaks. We are unsure of what it's about, but we want to help. Frog Face nods. We're Izuku's friends, Kiro. We want to help in any way we can. Katsuki watches as Pikachu dramatically whispers to Tape Face and Raccoon Eyes, the group nodding along and sharing the whispers with the rest of them. Finally, Kaminari speaks up. Okay, we can't tell you guys what's happening, but you can still be a part of it. Pink Cheeks smiles brightly. Great, just tell us what we need to do. Shouta stands at Midoriya's room, debating whether to knock or not. He had just come from downstairs after talking with the so-called Izuku Protection Squad. It was an interesting group, but Shouta believes that they'll have an effect. That they might actually be able to break through to the stubborn green-haired boy. After permitting them to stay in Midoriya's room overnight, they relayed the information that the problem child had isolated himself in his room for the past few days. So here Shouta is, standing in front of his dorm. Fuck it. He knocks. Shouta can hear movement and mumbled curses from the other side, words he would expect from Nightfall, but not the sunshine student of 1A. Nonetheless, Midoriya swings open the door aggressively, ready to tell whoever was behind it to fuck off, when he freezes. He's wearing a baggy shirt that literally says sleeping shirt on it with present Mike pajama pants. His hair is a mess, sticking up everywhere, and his eye bags are so dark they look like they were drawn on with eyeliner. Shouta raises an eyebrow, and the kid slams the door shut in his face. After a few minutes of more frantic movements and loud curses, Midoriya opens the door once more. Aizawa-sensei, how surprising to see you here. What can I do for you? This time, he's wearing more presentable clothing with his hair calmed down, at least as calm as his unruly curls can get. His eye bags stay untouched. He plasters on a smile and beams up at his teacher. Shouta just sighs. I was hoping to talk about the living arrangement I mentioned. Midoriya pauses, his mask slipping momentarily as he looks to the ground. His voice is a whisper, so quiet that Shouta almost misses his words. Are you sure you want me? In seconds, his heart breaks into a million pieces. He lifts his hand and ruffles the boy's green curls with a soft smile. Of course I do. And so do Hisashi and Hitoshi. We all want you there. Midoriya lifts his head, his large green eyes filled with tears. Okay, I'll do it then. Shouta smiles softly. Good. We're happy to have you. He's about to leave when he pauses. Actually, the family is going out for ice cream later. You should come with. Problem child blinks at him. Me? Why? You're a part of the family now, aren't you? Once again, his eyes grow watery. Okay, I'll be there. Thank you, Aizawa. Of course, problem child. Izuku smiles brightly as he sits next to Hitoshi. He hopes nobody can tell he'd been crying. I haven't had ice cream in forever. My mom used to take me when I was upset. It was always really fun. Well then, little listener, Mike responds just as cheerfully. It's time we get you the best ice cream you've ever had. Izuku never expected to be in this situation, sitting with his apparently new family over ice cream. He never expected anyone to want to have him in their family, much less his favorite teachers and heroes. He smiles down into his bowl. I'm finally going to have a home again. There are a few ground rules for the house, Midoriya, Aizawa states as he takes a bite of his chocolate ice cream. Can you call me Izuku instead? The man nods. You're going to have to stop your vigilantism. Shit, but I can't stop that. People need my help. Aizawa nods empathetically but stands his ground. I can assure you I understand, kid. But unfortunately, vigilantism is illegal. I will be there to apprehend the villains for you. It'll be all right. Izuku can feel the frustration and stubbornness bubbling inside him, but he pushes it down. They won't want me if I'm not good. Be good. It's not like he hasn't snuck out before, anyway. Fine. What else? Obviously, no more killing yourself. Izuku nods again. Without Jiru to listen in, how would they even know? It'll be fine. And, Aizawa blinks. That's it. Is he joking? What about the cost? Do you want me to cook? Clean? What? The tired man looks at him incredulously. No, we don't need any of that. You'll be our kid. It's our job to take care of you. Oh, are you sure you want to do that? Mike and Aizawa both nod instantly, taking Izuku by surprise. Of course we want to take care of you, Green Bean. I've wanted to take you in since the first time I saw you at the cat cafe. Izuku can feel the tears building up in his eyes and he hastily attempts to blink them away. Okay, really? That's all you could think of, dumbass. Aizawa cracks a smile at it though, and Hitoshi snorts. Maybe this won't be so bad. As they're walking back to the dorms, Hitoshi watches as Izu stares into the distance, a soft smile painting his lips. Should I warn him? Maybe. That's probably a good idea. It might stop him from freaking out at least. Hey Izu, he begins hesitantly. The green eyes instantly lift to his. Just so you know, the other students are planning on initiating the Izuku won't sleep alone, therefore he won't kill himself plan tonight. Just wanted to warn you. Izu's eyes instantly harden, rage flashing across them in a way that sends shivers up Hitoshi's spine. After a few moments of silence, he speaks through gritted teeth. Go ahead without me. I need to collect my thoughts. Hitoshi thinks about protesting, but seeing the set look in the other boy's eyes, he decides against it. Once he reaches the inside of the dorms, he's met with chaos. He sighs. I can't deal with this today. As Hitoshi begins to slink off to the elevators, someone calls his name. Shinsu, you're back. Shit. As a certain energetic blonde waves aggressively at him, Hitoshi attempts to pretend not to notice. He also attempts to hide the rising blush from his cheeks. All of Katsuki's and Izu's teasing has finally caught up to him. That's all there is to it. No other reason. Shinsu, hey, come play with us. He continues to ignore Kaminari's calls, continuing to make his way to the elevator when someone yells. Hitoshi instantly turns to see what the commotion is and watches as Mina jumps from the couch, pointing frantically at the window with wide eyes. What the hell? She practically shrieks. Did anyone see that? Uraraka nods, confused. Is Izuku scaling the building? Aw fuck. Instantly, half the class rush out the door, wanting to check on their friend. But the people who know what's been going on run to the stairs instead, Hitoshi being one of them. As he rushes to the dorm room, Kirishima is already there. It's locked. Katsuki snarls. Fuck that, I don't give a damn. It could be barricaded for all I fucking care. With a large blast that will definitely leave Katsuki's wrists aching, the door explodes open. I ain't letting the rat lock himself in here for days on end again. The students pile in, only to see Izuku climbing into the room through the balcony. He glares at them dangerously. Fuck you all. I refuse to be babysat and watched like a fucking helpless kid. Katsuki is the first to step forward once more. No, fuck you. You don't get a say in this shit. We won't allow you to kill yourself anymore. Jiru cries from behind the angry blonde. What? Ada and Uraraka stand confused behind the rest of the students. See you not far behind. Kill himself. What are you guys talking about? Everybody ignores them. Please, Midoriya. It's for your own well-being. Izuku glares at them, sending shivers down Hitoshi's spine. By the looks of the other students, it has the same effect on them. You don't get to decide what's best for my own goddamn well-being. Get the fuck out of my room. Now, nobody moves. He grits his teeth. If you don't fucking leave, Izuku grabs something from his bedside table. I'll kill myself right here and now. The knife in his hand glints as he holds it up to his throat, the prominent scar that already resides there telling Hitoshi that he's not bluffing. Leave. Shit. Izuku glares at his so-called friends. If you don't fucking leave, I'll kill myself right here and now. As he holds the knife up to his throat, he hears a collective gasp. What the fuck? Izuku, what are you doing? Drop the knife. Please, just listen to us. Izuku presses it into his skin with more pressure, a trickle of blood escaping and dripping down his neck. Don't fucking test me. I'm tired as shit and have been pestered by you guys all fucking week. So get out of my room or I will do it. Hitoshi pushes forward, emerging from the back with a look of panic on his face. Izuku, what? He snarls. He notices his mistake too late. The effect already washing over his body as his eyes begin to go hazy. Shut up and put the knife away. Calm down. He complies, setting the knife back on the table as a feeling of calmness washes over him. Katz doesn't waste any time grabbing the scarred boy and forcing him into a sitting position with a glare while his throat feels as if it's beginning to close up. The cork suddenly releases and Hitoshi stares at him with wide, frightened eyes. Shit, I'm so sorry, Izuku doesn't get to hear what his friend is saying before Hitoshi dashes out of the room, a head of blonde hair following after him hastily. Izuku can feel the tears burning his eyes. He blinks rapidly, trying to make them go away, but one look at the horrified faces of his friends is enough to make him break down crying. I'm sorry, I wouldn't actually do that. I'm sorry, he sobs. He doesn't know if that's true. Based on the wary looks of his friends, neither do they. Mina and Momo are instantly by his side, rubbing his back and wiping away his tears. I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. I'm not going to do anything. Through his tears, he meets eyes with Todoroki and winces internally. Shit, this is so embarrassing. Before he can ask them to give him some space, Uraraka speaks up from the doorway. What the actual fuck is happening right now? Everyone collectively freezes, partially from the shock of hearing the sweet, wholesome Uraraka curse, and partially because they all just realized that she was still in the room. Holding her hand, Tsuyu nods. Ada is still there as well, his hands on both the girl's shoulders protectively. Can somebody please explain what's going on? Now, all eyes are on Izuku. Shit, I hate when actions have consequences. Hitoshi dashes down the hall, rushing to his room and slamming the door behind him. Shit. He can feel his breathing speeding up, but he doesn't care. I used my quirk on him. I promised I would never do that against someone's will. Shit, I could have made him stop breathing if I didn't release it. He slides down the wall into a crouching position, holding his head between his knees. Fuck, they were right. I'm a villain. Izu's going to hate me. He's never going to speak to me again. Shit. My first friend. I fucked it up already. I'm such a... Suddenly, two hands are cupping his face, pulling him out of his thoughts. Hitoshi flinches back, trying to get his eyes to focus on the person in front of him. Kaminari. Shit, go away, he sobs pathetically. I'm dangerous. Kaminari just smiles softly at him, hands still cupping his face. Don't worry, I can protect myself. If Hitoshi was in his right mind, he would push the blonde away, or maybe ask how he got into his room. But he's not in his right mind, so instead, he leans into the touch. Kaminari brushes his thumb lightly under his eyes, wiping the tears away. What happened? Why do you think you're dangerous? Hitoshi closes his eyes, letting the blonde pull him in closer. My quirk. I used it on Izu without his permission. I even told him to shut up. It's a villain's quirk and I used it like a villain, so... No. Hitoshi's eyes fly open at the tone of Kaminari's voice. He's only heard the boy joke around and avoid problems. He never knew he could be serious. It's not a villain's quirk and you didn't use it like one. Kaminari pulls away, looking intensely into Hitoshi's dark eyes. You used it to help your friend. Who knows what would have happened if you didn't? You're not a villain. If anything, I'd say that was extremely heroic of you. Shit. As the tears begin to fall, Kaminari pulls him back into a warm embrace. They stay in this position for a long while, sitting in comfortable silence as Hitoshi's breathing evens out and the tears eventually stop, leaving only sad sniffles and damp shirts. Hitoshi pulls back, not wanting to look in the other's eye. Thank you. Sorry about your shirt. Kaminari just laughs. Don't worry about it. After a short, awkward pause, he speaks again. Can I stay here? I don't want to leave you alone. From the look on his face, it seems like he also doesn't want to be alone, and so Hitoshi nods. The blonde smiles brightly at him before standing and offering out a hand. Hitoshi must have a confused look on his face because Kaminari laughs and pulls him to his feet. Are you gonna stay on the floor the whole time? The bed is more comfortable. We should watch something. Do you have a comfort movie? As the energetic blonde rambles on, Hitoshi attempts to hide his rising blush. They're going to be sitting next to each other, on his bed, watching his favorite movie late at night. Shit, this isn't good for his heart. As Kaminari leans his head on the taller boy's shoulder while they watch Ghibli movies, Hitoshi begins to struggle with breathing once more, except this time, it's for completely different reason. Fuck, I'm too gay for this. So you're saying, you're immortal? Uraraka stares in confusion and Izuku nods encouragingly. He's been trying to explain his quirk to her for nearly 20 minutes now, but she hasn't been understanding quite as quickly as the others did. Sue caught on quickest, with Ida understanding after the second round of explanations. This is the fourth time he's attempting to explain and Uraraka finally seems to get it. Okay, you're immortal, you can't die, and you're an illegal vigilante. Yes, he knows he shouldn't be this excited about her understanding. His darkest secrets are all out in the open here, but he desperately doesn't want to have to explain it all again. So why do they need to watch over you every night? To stop you from going out and vigilanteing? This part, he hadn't even attempted to explain yet. Not quite. It's kind of complicated though. The three friends nod encouragingly and he sighs. When I die, I can sleep better and heal any wounds inflicted on me, so I've found it easiest to. You've been killing yourself. Uraraka blurts out, eyes wide. How did she understand this so quickly but not the other stuff? He sighs again. Yeah, pretty much. Well shit. This is the second time she's cursed in the past hour and it's completely throwing Izuku in a loop. That's not even the worst of it, Jiru adds mournfully. Sue tilts her head. What's the worst of it then? Tell them how many. How often? Izuku grimaces. I've died 158 times. 99 have been suicides. Silence. He decides to keep talking to fill the silence, which, he finds out soon enough, is not a good idea. I've lived my whole life quirkless up until about 4 months before school started, so about 6 or 7 months in total. I usually kill myself every night, but the first month it took a lot longer to regenerate, so I just kept testing out different ways to die to see if any worked. He rambled on. But none did, obviously, so then I became a vigilante. How did your family not realize? Ida asks, brows furrowed in worry. Oh, I forgot to mention it, I guess. I don't actually have a family. His smile is starting to feel more and more fake by the second. I've been homeless since I was 8 after my mom left. I lived on the streets for a while before finding the place I currently live in. It's safe, don't worry. It's not fucking safe. Katz growls from his spot on the floor. It's a half-collapsed building with mold and fucking rats. Izuku gasps dramatically, placing a hand on his chest. Those rats are my friends. They're nice. Nobody laughs. Sue breaks the silence with a signature brutally honest question. How did all of them find out about your quirk? Did you kill yourself in front of them like you tried to do earlier? Izuku grimaces. He almost forgot about that. Not exactly. Toshi and Katz knew before the rest. Katz knew before I even came to UA. And Toshi found out after the USJ incident. The rest found me a few days ago in my room after I died on patrol. And it was pretty traumatizing. Cyril laughs uncomfortably. I can only imagine. Sue nods solemnly. Ada stretches slightly from his spot on the floor. Both Uraraka and Sue are leaning against him and he has his arms wrapped around them. This is a lot of information. Is the Izuku Protection Squad here to help you not hurt yourself at night? Not kill myself? Yeah. Well then, I am happy to be a part of it. Izuku sighs. I'm not really all for this plan. Jiru tusks. We know, you've made that very obvious. Sorry about that. It's fine, Izuku, Momo chimes in. We just need to have someone with you at night to keep you safe. He bites his lip in an attempt to keep the stubbornness down. I understand, but I have nightmares when I sleep. You all saw what happened back at camp. That was the last time I slept without dying. The students flinch at the bluntness of the last part, but the girls seem confused. Wait, what happened at camp? Uraraka asks. A few of the others share a look before Kirishima speaks up. He woke up in the middle of the night screaming. He clawed at his face and we couldn't wake him up. After he did wake, however, Ciro adds, he didn't recognize us at all and practically fought us off for a whole 10 minutes while having a panic attack. The room is silent as the girls let that sink in. Wow, yeah, Izuku is glad for this reaction. It makes his job much easier. See, I can't be around people when I sleep and if I am, I need to be dead. Mina squints her eyes at him. Can we trust you to not kill yourself if we leave you alone though? Of course. It's silent for a moment before Todoroki says what they all seem to be thinking. I don't believe you. Izuku sighs. You guys are going to ruin your sleeping schedule by trying to take care of me at night. You'd need earplugs or something at the very least. Ciro continues as if he hadn't spoken. We already have a schedule for who will stay with you for the next month. After that, it can be up to you and who you feel most comfortable with. Izuku bites his lip. I'm going to be such a burden though. They all rush to tell him that's not true, but Izuku ignores all of them except one. Todoroki scooches closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. I'm staying with you tonight. It's not going to be a burden. I'll go grab an extra futon. Shoto sits down on the futon, staring up at Izuku with worried eyes. Does he hate me now for burning him? What if he wants to break up? Hey Izuku, I wanted to apologize. The green eyes don't look angry. If anything, they only seem confused. I haven't gotten to speak to you directly since we found you a few days ago, but I wanted to tell you I'm sorry for burning you. For burning me? What do you mean? Shoto blinks. He doesn't remember. You were bleeding out in your room and Aizawa told me I needed to cauterize the wound so He gulps, pushing down the emotion that threatens to rise up. I tried to do it as Aizawa instructed me, but I added too much heat in you. You screamed. It must have left a scar. Izuku watches him as he speaks, and once he finishes, he wastes no time lifting his shirt up. Shoto flushes at the sudden gesture but doesn't look away. He's my boyfriend now, so it should be fine if I look. Right. Izuku observes his stomach, pointing to a burn scar that looks darker than the others, fresher. It's vaguely hand-shaped as well. Shoto pales. Izuku doesn't. He laughs. Don't worry about it, Todoroki. Just another addition to my collection. I was passed out the whole time so I don't remember anything. If I was awake, I wouldn't have screamed. Shoto doesn't know if that makes him feel better or worse. You called me Todoroki again. Izuku blinks before smiling sheepishly, a light blush painting his cheeks. Yeah, I did. Call me Shoto. Izuku blushes more, ducking his head. Okay, Shoto. A few moments of silence pass before he speaks again. Do you really not mind the scar? I was scared you'd hate me. He lowers his head, bringing his fingers up to his face. I hate my dad for causing my scar. Izuku smiles softly at the other. I don't hate you. I like my scars. I know they're not exactly attractive to look at, but I don't mind them. I don't hate you, he reiterates, quieter this time. I could never hate you, Shoto. He can feel his stomach flutter at the words, and he wonders if it was the wrong choice to ask Izuku to call him by his first name. Before he can say anything else on the topic, however, Izuku rises from his bed. I have to go on patrol. I'll try and be back by 3. Go ahead and sleep. Before Shoto can protest, the green-haired boy slips out of the room and into the moonlit night, and so Shoto is left alone in the room. Alone in Izuku's room. After a moment of thinking, he decides to look around a bit. There's not much to see, honestly. His room is about as empty as one would expect from someone who was homeless for nearly 7 years. There are a few hero posters and a few printed pictures with friends, which Shoto is happy to spot himself in some. Seeing as there's nothing else to see and that it's nearly midnight on a school night, Shoto lays back down with a sigh. He thinks back to Izuku as he tries to fall asleep. I wonder if he doesn't like kissing. Boyfriends usually kiss, right? He banishes the thoughts from his mind and turns over with another sigh, finally allowing sleep to wash over him. Thump. Shoto wakes with a start, looking around frantically trying to figure out where he is. His eyes land on a head of curly green hair, and he relaxes. That's right, I'm with Izuku. He begins to sit up, watching whatever the other boy is doing. His back is turned to him and he has something in his hand. Shoto squints, trying to figure out what it is. Izuku moves his hand and the item glints in the moonlight. A knife. Instantly, Shoto reaches out his hand, placing it on Izuku's arm. The boy startles slightly, turning and looking at Shoto as if he had only just remembered he was there. A range of emotions crosses over his face, but he remains silent. After a moment, he sets down the knife and grabs his pajama clothes. Shoto lets his hand drop back to his side as the other leaves to change. He doesn't sleep yet, waiting until Izuku wordlessly returns and slips into bed. Shoto listens as his breath evens out, and only then does he close his eyes and attempt to fall back asleep. Unfortunately, his sleep doesn't last long. After about an hour or so, Shoto is awoken once more, this time by talking. He opens his eyes hesitantly, as if expecting to find someone else in the room with him. There's no one. Instead, Izuku tosses in his sleep, mumbling incoherent words. Shoto instantly sits up. Is he having a nightmare? Maybe he just sleep talks. That's when the mumbling becomes less incoherent. Stop. No, I don't want to. Don't make me. Please. Shoto shuffles over to the bed, still on his knees. The memories of the night at summer camp come back to him in seconds. Stop. No. Izuku is practically shouting now, tossing aggressively as he fights the blankets. Shoto doesn't know what to do. He's never been good with emotions like this, and the fact that he's still half asleep doesn't help. As Izuku's actions begin to intensify, growing worse by the second, Shoto climbs into the other's bed, tentatively reaching out to shake him awake. He doesn't wake up. Shoto tries to shake him harder without acting overly aggressive, but Izuku's eyes remain clamped closed, brows furrowed. Tears begin to drip down his face, dampening the pillow below. Please, I don't. No. The words are no longer shouts. Instead, they're soft whimpers and pleas. Shoto can feel his heart breaking. Gently, he pulls Izuku up and into his arms, pressing the boy's head against his chest and hugging him tightly. And finally, he seems to begin calming down. The talking stops, replaced by quiet sniffles and shuddering breaths. His hands clamp onto the back of Shoto's shirt, gripping it as if his life depended on this action alone. In his dream, maybe it does. Slowly, Shoto navigates their bodies into a laying position, cradling Izuku close to him. We're dating, so this shouldn't be too much. Right. Izuku pulls him closer, their bodies flush together, and Shoto can feel his face growing hot. As the sleeping boy nuzzles closer into the crook of his neck, Shoto's breath hitches. Shit, don't make it weird. You're just helping him calm down from a nightmare. As Shoto focuses on not lighting himself on fire, he somehow, eventually, drifts to sleep. He may only have a few hours left before needing to be awake again. But those few hours are going to be the best sleep he's gotten in years. All thanks to the green-haired boy who's cuddled closely. Izuku feels warm all over. He's not used to this feeling. Usually, when he wakes from death or nightmares, his body is so cold he's practically shivering. So when he wakes up cozy and warm, he knows something is off. He hesitantly opens his eyes, only to find himself curled up with someone. What the fuck is going on? Before he can panic, strands of red and white hair grab his attention from the periphery of his vision. Shit, to do, Shoto. Now he does panic, though for a different reason than before. Izuku's arms are wrapped around Shoto's waist and his hands are clenching his shirt so hard that it's riding up his back slightly. Their legs overlap, tangling together in a way that makes Izuku blush deeper than he ever has in his life. He closes his eyes, relishing in the warmth and comfort. Before he can even process what he's doing, he snuggles closer. He smells so good. Is that weird to notice? That's when his alarm goes off. Izuku jolts but can't quite escape the tangled embrace fast enough. Shoto begins to shift from his spot as he wakes up gracefully, and Izuku freezes. Shoto looks absolutely gorgeous, his hair rustled beautifully and his skin practically glowing in the morning sun. Izuku just knows he looks like a mess. Some people are so goddamn lucky. Good morning, Izuku, Shoto says casually as he leans over an already flustered Izuku to turn off the alarm. How did you sleep? You? Good. He clears his throat, trying to hide how his voice jumps. I slept good. You? Shoto nods as he rises from the bed. Same. That was probably one of the best nights of rest I've had in a while. If that doesn't make Izuku blush more, what would? I didn't cause too much trouble. Shoto shakes his head. You had a nightmare around 5, but it only took a little while to calm you down. I didn't mind helping. Izuku nods, embarrassed as he stares at his hands. Thank you. Of course. He turns toward the door. I'm going to go get ready for school. I'll see you downstairs. And with that, he leaves. Izuku instantly puts his head in his hands, groaning through his blush. Shit, he mumbles. What did I get myself into? He doesn't even know how Shoto feels about him. Yet here he is, falling harder for the stupid two-tone boy every day. We even kissed, but we never talked about it. I wonder if he just wants to forget about it. He shakes his head, banishing the thoughts. Get ready for school, idiot. Don't go down that train of thought again. You've spent too much time on it already. And so he gets ready, heading downstairs after attempting and failing to tame his unruly curls. In the kitchen, as he spreads jam on some bread, Katsuki smirks at him from the other side of the room as he sips his morning coffee smugly. How'd the night with Aizawa go? Izuku groans. Shut up, Kats. You two confess yet? Shut up, he whines. Besides, don't think I didn't notice Kiri leaving your room the other night. That shuts him up real quick. He glares at Izuku. Don't say a fucking word, rat. The Greeneat just laughs in response. Whatever you say, Kats. Izuku's mind drifts back to the conversation he had with Dabai and Himiko last night and he bites the inside of his cheek. What, nerd? It's not exactly a question, but Izuku just blinks at the blonde. Huh, you have that look on your face you get when you want to say something. So spit it out. Shit, I forgot I've known him practically my whole life. Well, I need to get Aizawa to approve, but I want you and Hitoshi to come with me after school tomorrow. Come with you where? Katsuki raises his eyebrows in suspicion. To my home. I need to tell you guys something. It's kinda important. This doesn't help ease his suspicion at all. He squints his eyes. The fuck are you hiding, rat? Izuku shakes his head. Tomorrow, go get a pass from Aizawa. Katsuki growls but doesn't refuse, which Izuku counts as him agreeing. Tomorrow comes far too quickly for Izuku to be emotionally prepared. But he has to do it nonetheless. As Hitoshi and Katsuki follow him on the familiar route home, they bombard him with questions he refuses to answer. Why are you bringing us to your house? The fuck are you hiding, nerd? Can you just answer us? Stop being fucking quiet for the first time in your life. Come on, spit it out already, Izu. He sighs but remains silent. At least they're getting along all right. Hitoshi had apologized to him profusely the day before, telling him he would never use his quirk on him without his permission again. As much as Izuku had reassured him that he didn't mind, the tired boy seemed to be set on feeling like the bad guy. After, they both shared their stories of how Kaminari and Shoto ended up cuddling with them in their sleep. The teasing was endless, but Izuku was happy to talk to someone about it. They reached the building far too soon, and Izuku stops, the questions getting cut off by a quick glare. Okay, I need you both to promise me something. They watch him with wary eyes. You have to go in with an open mind. They nod as they all climb into the building, stopping before his door. You both know I don't like villains, right? They nod again, before a loud crash can be heard behind his door. Izuku winces as his two friends instantly go on guard. And you know I'd never be friends with or close with anyone who was a bad person, right? This time, they don't nod. What the fuck are you hiding, Izuku? I don't like where this is going. He continues as if they hadn't spoken. I have amazing judgment. You both should know this by now. They both raise their eyebrows in a way that says no, we don't know that. So you have to trust me, okay? Another crash is heard from behind the door and Hitoshi's grip on his capture weapon tightens as Katsuki raises his hands slightly. Izuku, who's in your room? You guys trust me, right? Who is in your room? Right. With a huff of frustration, Hitoshi lets go of his scarf, and after a sharp elbow to his ribs, Katsuki lowers his hands as well. Fine, we fucking trust you. Now who the fuck is in your room? Izuku takes a deep breath as his hand falls on the handle. This is going to be a mess, isn't it? He attempts to open the door slowly, but from behind him, Katsuki shoves it open, slamming it into the back wall with a thud. It's silent for a minute as everyone seems to take in the current scene. Dabai is half on the couch, his hand flickering with blue flames as Himiko is behind him, one hand pulling his half-white, half-black hair. She's halfway off the couch as well, Dabai's hand that isn't on fire shoving her face away from him. Beside Izuku, Katsuki stands frozen with shock and Hitoshi simply gapes with his mouth open. That's when the chaos breaks out. Everyone's talking all at once, making it hard for Izuku to follow the conversation. Why the fuck is the League of Villains in your house? You brought the brat we kidnapped. OMG, they're both so cute. What the fuck is going on, Izu? His hand is on fucking fire. I want to eat them up. Himiko, no. You guys are on a first-name basis. We love Zuzu, of course we're on a first-name basis. Zuzu, why are these ugly brats here? Who the fuck are you calling ugly, you burnt piece of shit? Ouch, you smell like fucking cigarettes and trash. Fucking purple asshole. Okay, rude. Have you ever heard of a fucking shower before? Damn, okay, chill. No need to lay it on so hard. Jesus Christ, where'd you find this fucker, Izuku? You're like 25, why are you here? I'm 23. He's old but I'm only 16. Let's be friends, cuties. Stop calling me fucking cute. Guys, calm down. Can we be reasonable here? Reasonable. The fucking League of Villains is in your house. Ex-League of Villains, thank you very much. I don't give a shit if you're ex or not, you're still fucking villains. Cats, I told you to stay open-minded. I wouldn't invite villains in here. Izu, they fucking kidnapped you and Katsuki. Hey, we were just trying to survive, dude. Was that why you were scolding them when I woke up? How long have you known each other? Even if he's known you longer than us, I bet we know him better than you fuckers. Huh? No, you fucking don't. I think we heard about Zuzu's first kiss before you guys though. What? When? You kissed Todoroki. Why didn't you tell me? Huh? Told you we knew more than you fuckers. Izuku grits his teeth. This is getting out of hand. Shut up. Instantly, everyone falls silent. Fucking finally. Jesus Christ. He moves to the center of the room and points at the couch while glaring at each of the 4 other people in the room. Sit. Now. They comply. Toga on the far left, Dabai squished next to Katsuki with Hitoshi on the far right end. Katsuki hisses a threat at Dabai, trying to get more space, but the man replies with just a smirk. Katsuki slaps his arm, trying to get him to move, but Dabai just slaps him back. I'm surrounded by fucking children. All of them, with another glare. The two finally stay still, the occasional slap still happening. But it's enough for Izuku to be able to actually get a word in. Okay, I'll explain the basics, but don't fucking interrupt me again. They all nod quickly and Izuku continues on. I met Himiko first, a little while after joining UA, and then Dabai a while before summer. They're no longer with the League. They haven't hurt anyone since I took them in either. Besides the occasional couch on fire. They've done nothing wrong, so don't fucking treat them like criminals. Katsuki and Hitoshi glare at the 2 ex-villains, Dabai wearing a smug look while Himiko just smiles brightly back at them. That doesn't explain why they're in your house. Hitoshi swats at Himiko's hand as it ventures too close to his hair for comfort. After leaving the League, they had nowhere to go. But why did you have to take them in? Because I'm a hero. I want to help people. Isn't that what being a hero is about? Izuku bats his eyelashes at Hitoshi's unimpressed glare. You're 16. You're not a hero yet, Izu. Well, ouch. You know what I mean. Izuku sighs, throwing a glare at Dabai as he tries to subtly set Katsuki's hair on fire. I told you about them because they mean a lot to me. They've helped me a lot and I care about them. They're like family now. All of you guys are like my family, so can you just, I don't know, try to get along? The 4 of them are silent for a moment before they nod with obvious discontent, and Izuku smiles. Great. Now that that's over, who wants food? Aijuru wakes with a start by the loud crash echoing through the room. He sits up, hands instantly hardened and ready to fight, but is confused as to where he is. Glancing around for danger, he spots the head of curly green hair on the floor. Oh, that's right. I'm watching Midoribro today. He sighs a sigh of relief and lets his quirk relax before sitting up straight once more. Wait, why is he on the floor? Jumping out of the bed, he crouches next to Izuku's figure, feeling frantically for a pulse. Although he can't find one, he knows that's not saying much since he can't even find his own, so he puts a hand over what should be Izuku's heart. Though with how dark it is in the room, it's hard to tell how accurate that he's being. He feels something warm and wet above the faint heartbeat and Aijuru's eyes widen in horror. In a swift motion, he picks up the injured boy, slamming through the door and rushing down the stairs. Don't worry, Midoriya, he reassures somewhat frantically. I'll get you to the hospital. It's going to be okay. Before he can reach the front door of the dorms though, Aizawa-sensei exits his room, his hair rising in anger at his sleep being disrupted. The anger quickly dissipates as he notices the head of curly green hair in Aijuru's arms, turning to worry instead. Aijuru hands over Izuku's body to the teacher, but refuses to leave his side on the ride to the hospital. I should have woken up sooner. I should have been there for him. Why am I never strong enough? Izuku wakes up to a throbbing pain in his chest. He tries to sit up with a groan, but something pulls him back down. No, it didn't pull him back down. His limbs are just too heavy. He opens his eyes slowly, instantly noticing the ashen blonde hair that sits in front of him. Kaken, he mumbles. The blonde says something in return, but Izuku can't hear him. He can't hear anything besides the beeping of the machine. What happened last night? He tries to think back, but only receives flashes of memories. A villain, a spear for a tail, blood, so much blood. He closes his eyes again. When he opens his eyes next, his vision is finally clear. Katsuki still sits by his bed, but Izuku doesn't want him to know he's conscious yet. He glances around him, looking for anything he could use. Would that be fast enough? No, maybe he'd let me if I explained. Hey, cats, he mumbles, his words slurring slightly. It really hurts. The blonde head instantly snaps up. He rises slightly, as if about to go get someone, but Izuku reaches out a hand, tugging lightly on his sleeve. Don't tell the nurses. Please, He attempts to blink the tears out of his eyes. I need it to end. Katsuki's eyes narrow, but he doesn't respond. I need it to stop. It's all too much. He glances at his gear that's sitting at the end of the bed. He's unable to reach it on his own. Can you get me my knives? Fuck, Izuku, I'm not doing that. His voice is full of pain, but Izuku barely registers that. Please, I haven't slept in so long. Not actual sleep. That's not actual sleep. It is. I need it all to go away. Izuku begs, pulling harder on Katsuki's sleeve. Just get me my knives, please. It's too much. Izuku, I'm not. Please, Kats. I need to sleep. I need to die. It's too much. The tears finally break free, streaming down his face rapidly. I can't do that, Zuku. His voice is strained, almost as if he's holding back tears of his own. Izuku doesn't notice. Please, I just need to heal. I need it all to stop. Please, Kats. Katsuki stumbles back, pulling his sleeve out of Izuku's grip. There's a look on his face that Izuku doesn't recognize, but he doesn't attempt to decipher it. He continues to plead for the sweet release of death long into the night, Katsuki refusing, not looking at his tear-stained face. What Izuku doesn't see as he breaks down is the two other people close by. Hitoshi and Aizawa sit at the back of the hospital room, watching in horror as Izuku continues to beg Katsuki to let him kill himself. They hear everything. It's too much. I can't handle it. And it's just one cut. It's not that bad. And please, I can't live like this. I just want to die. If they start to cry or have to leave the room after seeing too much, Izuku doesn't notice that either. Along with how he doesn't notice as Katsuki's eyes fill with tears and his nails dig into the skin of his upper arm, nearly drawing blood with the amount of force he's using. No, Izuku notices none of that. All he can think of is how much he wishes he were dead at that moment. Please. Katsuki wakes up with a start, checking the time instinctively. 4:23 a.m. Fucking hell, he groans under his breath. He hadn't been able to get barely any sleep that night, trying to stay up and take care of Izuku. Speaking of Izuku, Katsuki rubs his eyes, trying to get his vision accustomed to the dark. When it takes too long, he stands and moves across the room to Izuku's bedside. He bumps the boy's scarred hand lightly, as if checking if he's asleep, but there's no response. He makes the motion again, slightly more aggressively, but Izuku's hand remains limp. Katsuki squints his eyes. When that remains unhelpful, he feels around the side table before clicking on the lamp. He can't help the strangled gasp that escapes him. Izuku lays on the bed, his neck covered in still dripping blood. It's dripped down his shirt and chest, tangling with his wild green hair on the pillows. His eyes are slightly open, looking pale and fogged over. A bloody knife remains in Izuku's hand, along with a small smile on his lips. Katsuki gags. He slaps a hand over his mouth and dashes out the door, not caring how loudly it slams open. He rushes down the hall, but not trusting himself to make it to the bathroom. He leans over the closest trash can and heaves into it. There was barely any food in his stomach in the first place, but he continues to dry heave long after it's completely empty. Making his way to the nearest bathroom, he rinses out his mouth and wipes the vomit and tears from his face. Katsuki stares at his pale reflection and feels the urge to punch the mirror. His knuckles turn white with how tightly he's gripping the counter. He can't go back to Izuku's room, but he still needs somewhere to rest. It's not like he's going to get much sleep now anyway. Fumbles slightly, he removes his phone from his pocket, scrolling through the group chats with shaking fingers until he finds the text he's looking for. With one last glance at the mirror, he exits the bathroom and makes his way to the elevators. Katsuki hesitates before room 401. He lifts his hand and places it on the handle, but removes it after a moment. He lifts his hand once more, making a fist as he prepares to knock, but then lets it drop to his side. With a heavy sigh, his hand is raised once again before knocking much too quietly. After a few moments of silence pass, Katsuki takes it as his sign to leave and turns on his heel, heading to the waiting rooms. He curses himself for coming in the first place. Behind him, the door cracks open. Bakugou. He tenses. Shit, why are you up here? Are you okay? Katsuki bites his lip, debating what to do, before sighing and turning around. Kirishima stands in his hospital gown, head peeking out of the door. His hair is down, falling in his eyes, an open but confused expression on his face. Izuku had woken up in the middle of the ride to the hospital, freaking out and attacking the first person he saw. Unfortunately, he was in Kirishima's lap the whole ride, the red-headed boy refusing to fight back or even harden his skin, not wanting to risk accidentally injuring the already hurt boy. The injuries were more emotional than mental, but since they were already there, Aizawa urged him to get checked out, knowing of Izuku's strength. Bakugou, Kirishima repeats. Katsuki bites his lip again, taking a step backward. This was a mistake. He moves to take another step, but Kirishima leans forward and grabs his wrist, eyes full of concern. What happened? At this, Katsuki can feel his bottom lip begin to tremble despite how hard he tries to make it stop. He swallows, trying to stop his voice from shaking while also attempting to get the words to come out right. Kirishima just watches him patiently. He slit his throat. I woke up and he was gone. The last word comes out in an involuntary sob and Kirishima instantly pulls the blonde into his room, closing the door before wrapping him in a tight, comforting hug. Katsuki definitely doesn't sob into Kirishima's shoulder. He doesn't allow the redhead to wipe away his tears with soft, gentle hands, and he definitely does not lean into Kirishima's touch as he tenderly rubs his back and runs a hand through his hair. If anyone asks, that didn't happen. But unfortunately for Katsuki, nobody has to ask, because the next morning, as he's still curled up in Kirishima's bed, an arm thrown over his chest as his head rests on the redhead's sturdy arm, someone enters the room. Katsuki keeps his eyes closed. He barely slept that night after what he witnessed. He'd rather stay up and listen to Kirishima's breath even out, the comforting sound of life letting him rest his eyes for a while. So when someone walks into the room, a woman from the sound of it, Katsuki keeps his eyes shut, not wanting to interrupt or be found out. Baby, I was so worried about you," the woman exclaims before being shushed by the injured boy. "Oh, you have company." Katsuki can't see what expression Kirishima is making, but he can feel the boy's heartbeat begin to speed up. "Is this that Bakugou kiddo you've not stopped telling us about?" Another woman's voice asks teasingly. Katsuki hopes they can't see his ears turning red. Kirishima doesn't reply, but that doesn't deter the women. After a few moments of what must be silent communications, expressed by facial expressions and small movements, the first woman speaks again. Her voice is soft, and Katsuki has to strain to hear her words. "You really like him, don't you?" There is no question, as if she already knows the answer. But nonetheless, Kirishima lets out a muffled MHM and Katsuki feels his face flush. Luckily, nobody seems to notice. Izuku is in the place he desperately wanted to avoid. Aizawa's desk. The man stares deeply into Izuku's eyes and he struggles to not look away from the intense glare. The silence plays out for much longer than comfortable before Aizawa finally sighs and leans back. "Honestly, I'm not sure what to do with you anymore." Izuku blinks. That was definitely not what he was expecting. His teacher continues, "I want to help you. I think that's become abundantly clear, and yet it seems that no matter what happens, you refuse the help." Izuku sits up in his seat, opening his mouth and getting ready to defend himself when he freezes. "That's not true, is it? Am I refusing the help?" Aizawa seems to notice the pause and continues to speak. "The people around you care deeply about you. I hope you know that. We all want to help you, but we can't do everything. We can't supervise you 24/7. Your mental health should not cause the downfall of those around you." Izuku blinks. He doesn't want that. They have to know he doesn't. "I never asked them to help. I don't want them to ruin their health to help me. And yet they will do so regardless. You cannot stop them, Izuku." He knows this. They both do. You're putting too much weight on them. It's too much for teenagers to carry. Izuku furrows his brow. "But I've had to carry this weight my whole goddamn life." It comes out more bitter than expected and he winces at the tone. Aizawa does not. "I know, and that's not fair to you. But that doesn't make it fair to the others either." Izuku sits in silence for a minute, letting the words sink in. He knows it's not fair to the others, and yet he doesn't know how to stop it if they refuse to leave him be. "I know it's affecting their health," he wants to yell. "I've seen how tired they are. Some of them can barely look me in the fucking eyes anymore. But I don't know what you all expect from me. I told them I don't want help. I told them I wasn't going to try and change. I fucking told them. But nobody fucking listened. Why is that now my fault?" He wants to scream. He wants to yell it from the rooftops and let everyone hear. But he stays silent. He grits his teeth and stares his teacher in the eye. "How do I make it fair? What am I supposed to do?" He'd been quiet for too long before speaking. Aizawa had to have known what was going on in his mind. But he doesn't say anything. He simply leans forward and places his interlaced hands on the desk. "Izuku, you need to try and get better. Your friends and teachers can help you heal. They can support you and accompany you as you attempt to go down the road of change. But they can't carry you. You have to meet them halfway. You have to meet me halfway." Finally, Izuku drops his gaze from his teachers and stares into his lap. "Oh, that's where I went wrong. You have to try to get better, Izuku. You can't just stay the same and hope everything turns out okay. It won't. You have to try." The scarred boy stays quiet as he lets his teacher's words sink in. He knows it makes sense. He knows it's true. But maybe, just maybe, he doesn't want to get better. Maybe he doesn't want to try. Izuku stands, nodding to the teacher as he walks out of the class. Aizawa doesn't call after him. Izuku doesn't go to his dorm, but instead leaves the school grounds altogether. As he walks home in silence, he thinks about what Aizawa had said. Is it really so wrong for me to not want to get better? Is that so bad? To want to stay where I'm comfortable? He kicks a stone in his path and watches as it skids across the road, only stopping once it hits the grass. It takes so much effort to get better. There's nothing really wrong with me staying as I am. I'm not hurting anybody, so why does it matter? Except he is hurting somebody. And he knows it. Not only is he hurting himself, but those around him who are bending over backward to help him as well. Maybe if I convince them that I'm better, maybe they'll stop worrying. Then I wouldn't be hurting them anymore. That would work, right? Izuku reaches the old abandoned building that he calls home and quickly makes his way inside. As he slams open the door, Dabai and Himiko both scream. Izuku just raises his eyebrows unimpressed. Zuzu, you didn't tell us you were coming. Himiko bounds over, throwing her arms around his neck. Dabai, however, squints at the green-haired boy. What's up with you? Izuku gives him a small smile. Nothing, just thought I'd come and say hi. Himiko pulls back, leaving her hands on his shoulders as she squints her eyes, scrutinizes him. No, Dabai's right for once. What happened? You look so sad. Izuku silently weighs his options as he chews on his bottom lip. They'd be on my side. Right. They've never said anything about me stopping my habits. Can I get your guys' opinion about something? They both nod, sitting down on the couch instantly and looking at him with expectant eyes. Izuku sighs before sitting cross-legged on the coffee table in front of them, his gaze on his hands as he picks at his nails. So I talked with Aizawa today cause he found me dead. Dabai rolls his eyes but Izuku ignores it. He told me I need to try more and actually attempt to stop killing myself and to get better. His voice grows bitter, and for once, he doesn't attempt to hide it. It's such bullshit. Why does he get to decide what counts as getting better? Shouldn't what makes me most comfortable be what's best? He waits for his friends to chime in with agreement, but the room remains silent. Finally, Izuku looks up. The two of them stare at him, their faces holding incomprehensible expressions. Their eyebrows are pinched and lips pursed. It's a look that seems to say, I know what you're going through, and it's not good. Izuku scowls. He hates that look. What? Dabai is the first to break the tense silence. I'm most comfortable when I'm smoking. Toga seems to be on the same page as the older man. Izuku feels as if he's not even in the same book. I'm most comfortable when I can stab people. I'm most comfortable when I'm burning something or committing arson. I'm most comfortable when I'm sucking someone's blood right from their skin. Izuku splutters. Guys, you can't do that stuff. Dabai and Himiko share a satisfied look before returning their gaze to him. But we're comfortable. Doesn't that mean it's best for us? Izuku blinks. Oh, I understand. It's not the same. Yours are hurting others. What about smoking? That's not hurting anyone. Himiko, with a distant glint in her eye, nods. I used to cut on my thighs. I just thought the blood was pretty. It made me feel really comfortable though. Dabai puts an arm around the blonde girl and Izuku bites his lip. Shit, okay, maybe they are the same. But what's the problem with mine? Yours are obviously bad, but mine helps me. Dabai leans back. When I used to smoke, it would clear my mind. It let me stop thinking about my family. When I ran away, I left behind 3 younger siblings. I've never forgiven myself. Izuku puts a comforting hand on the older man's knee. You had no choice. You had to escape. I did though. He sits up suddenly, knocking the two away from him. I could have stayed and fought. I could have been strong. But I wasn't. I fucking ran away. I left SH. I left my youngest brother with my dad. I should have been there to protect him. But he had to protect himself. It should have been me. As his voice cracks on the last word, tears well up in his eyes, begging to break free. Izuku can only stare up at the older man. Shit, I never knew. Dabai returns to where he was before, taking a deep breath before speaking again. Smoking let me clear my mind. Let me get him off my mind. It helped me. Izuku isn't sure if he is the dad or brother, but he gets the point nonetheless. Toga squeezes his shoulder comfortingly. But you stopped. You're clean now. And we're proud of you, Izuku adds. There's a squeezing feeling in his chest that he can't identify. Is it jealousy? No, maybe longing is more accurate. Wishing to be comforted as Dabai had been. Wishing that others would be proud of him like they were. He knows it's dumb, that it's counteractive to what he had earlier said. But the squeezing in his chest continues until he feels unable to breathe. Himiko tells her story next. And the pressure only grows worse. I was 10 when I cut for the first time. I had no reason for doing so. I was just bored. I had already gotten kicked out of my house, so I was just sitting in an alley with a random shard of glass I found. I bled a lot. She takes a deep breath. But it made me feel less guilty. It felt like I was returning the blood I drank. An eye for an eye, blood for blood. I doubt you guys want to see the scars. But they're still there. I didn't stop until I was 15. It helped me. I doubt I would have made it through those times without it. At least that's what I thought. Izuku stays silent, feeling like there's more she wants to say. And sure enough, after another silent minute passes, she speaks again. Once I finally had a home, a family, the support I needed, I was able to stop. It wasn't instant. It took a long time, and a lot of relapses. But I got better, and I stopped. And here I am today. She smiles sadly at Izuku. You have the support you didn't have when you started your journey. You have a home, a family, friends. You have us. He nods, a lump in his throat keeping him from speaking. You have everything you need, Zuzu. We've held out a hand, you just have to take it. A tear rolls down his cheek. What? Why am I crying? Himiko is quick to embrace the scarred boy, Dabai quickly following. I don't understand, he gets out through his tears. I don't want to get better. I don't. And Miko pets his hair comfortingly. Maybe it's not that you don't want to get better. Maybe it's that you don't want things to change. He sniffs. Is there a difference? Dabai is the one to respond this time. Oh, definitely. One is much easier to overcome. If you only don't want things to change, then we just have to find a comfortable place to start, and then we go from there. Although it makes sense, Izuku just doesn't know where to start. From the silence, the others don't either, I think. And Miko starts, tilting her head upward in thought. I think a safe way to begin would be to just set the intention. Just tell yourself, I'm going to try to get better. I think that would work. Izuku nods. I think I understand. With their arms around him, the squeezing in his chest releases. I think I can actually do this. With their support, he feels like he can do anything. He feels invincible. Izuku creeps into his room, closing his door quietly. He doesn't want to alert Jiru or the others, not wanting to ruin their sleep any more than he already has. He sprawls out on the floor, limbs aching from patrol and his lungs more out of breath than usual. It's nearly 4 a.m. He'd stayed out later than usual due to his time with Himiko and Dabai. He hadn't wanted to leave. He rolls over, unclasping his utility belt and vest. Knives clink together as his belt falls to the floor. He glances at them, the moonlight reflecting off their shiny surface, taunting him. Slowly, Izuku wraps his fingers around the closest one, bringing it with him as he sits up. He lifts the knife to eye level, slowly turning it and watching as the moonlight dances across the silvery surface. With a sigh, he drops his hand back to the floor, still clasping the knife. He thinks back to the feeling from earlier, to how he felt watching Dabai and Himiko tell their stories. I want someone to comfort me like that. Is that wrong? To want someone to see how far I've come? But I haven't gone anywhere. I'm standing still. I have to actually move forward if I want them to be proud of me. Is that a bad reason for wanting to get better? After another moment of contemplation, Izuku decides he doesn't care if it's a bad reason. It's reason enough. He lets go of the knife. Kyoka is not in a good mood. Why, you ask? Well, the answer is simple. It's because she was awakened 3 times throughout the night to terrifying, blood-curdling screams. The first time, she ran all the way upstairs, only to find that Izuku, who she identified the scream was coming from, had already returned to sleep. It was simply a nightmare. After the second occurrence, Kyoka didn't leave her room. She still sat up and put her ears to the wall in hopes of hearing anything. She didn't need to do that in order to hear him cursing up a storm. The final time she was awakened, Kyoka didn't even move from her spot. She'd finally been able to fall asleep after his last nightmare when he woke her again. She could easily hear items being broken and thrown across the room, but she simply sighed and rolled over, trying to get at least an ounce of sleep before school. So, after being awakened 3 times in 4 hours, it's needless to say that Kyoka is not in a good mood. But luckily for her, or unluckily, depending on how you look at it, everyone else seems to be in the same predicament. As she drags herself downstairs, she's met with dead stares and tired bodies. Kaminari is sprawled out on the couch and Uraraka has her face down against the table. Shinsu, from his place on the floor, greets her with a half-smile, half-grimace. You heard it too. If she wasn't in such a bad mood, she would have laughed. Of fucking course I heard it. Ada doesn't even scold her for language. That's how tired he is. As Izuku drags himself off the elevator, he seems to not be faring much better. His eyes are sunken and his eye bags dark. His hair is a tangled mess and his uniform buttoned incorrectly. He doesn't even greet his classmates as he heads straight for the coffee machine. Izuku hates coffee. God, it's going to be a long day. Shouta doesn't know what happened last night, but whatever it was seemed to have kept every single student awake. He watches from inside his sleeping bag as the students drag themselves into the classroom, Bakugou seemingly the only one who wasn't kept up. It must have been a sound problem then. He doesn't sleep with his hearing aids. Everyone seems to be in a bad mood. Jiru scowls when Aoyama accidentally bumps into her, his usual steadiness interrupted by lack of sleep. Ida props his head up with his hands, seemingly trying to stay awake. Kaminari, however, is already asleep 10 minutes into first period, while Uraraka has a red mark on her forehead from laying it on the desk for so long. Izuku seemed to have forgotten to put on his happy mask earlier, looking absolutely murderous. Even Bakugou avoids him. I found my explanation. Giving the class a free period, he pulls Izuku out of the class to talk as soon as he gets the chance. Instantly, before Shouta can get a word out, the tired boy glares at him. I thought getting better was supposed to make me feel better. Shouta blinks. What? With a huff, Izuku grabs his hair tightly. I'm fucking trying to be better like you told me to. How come everything's worse for me and everyone else now? Shouta would have laughed if Izuku didn't look so distressed over this situation. Kid, it's been 12 hours since you decided to try and get better. He nods. You've just begun. It's going to get harder before it gets easier. That's just how it works, unfortunately. Izuku growls in frustration. Why do I have to do it then if it's just going to get harder? Shouta smiles softly at him. He can see himself in this angry, tired boy. Your future self is going to thank you for starting so soon. Believe me. Izuku just glares up at him. I can't fucking sleep though. I can't make it a year into the future without some goddamn sleep. So that's why they're all so tired. Nightmares, right. He nods. I think I can help with that. There's plenty of medication that you can take to help sleep. I'll ask Recovery Girl for some later, okay. Hope returns to Izuku's eyes and Shouta thinks he might be going soft. Okay, now get back to class. We still have work to do. The green-haired boy smiles for the first time that day. Shouta can't help but feel successful. Izuku wakes up with a yawn. He stretches, feeling well-rested. Feeling well-rested. In an instant, his eyes fly open and he bounds to the door, grabbing his clothes as he goes. He trips trying to pull on his pants and doesn't even care that his shirt's on backward. As he rushes down the stairs, not feeling patient enough to wait for the elevator, he nearly crashes into Ajaru. I slept through the night. Izuku exclaims wildly. Ajaru, who doesn't know anything about Izuku's situation or quirk, just smiles, confused. Good job. The unenthusiastic response doesn't deter Izuku. Instead, he rushes to the common area, sliding in front of the TV. Many of his friends sit along the couches and he's happy they're nearly all together. He grabs Uraraka's hands, who just blinks at him. I slept the whole night. He moves on to Katsuki, who tries to kick him away as he attempts to grab his face. I didn't wake up even once. Next is Shoto, to whom Izuku places his hands on his shoulders and leans in. I didn't have any nightmares. He moves on to Mina, not noticing the blush creeping up Todoroki's face. Shaking the pink girl aggressively, she squeals in excitement as well. The medication worked. The group cheers, somewhat confused at his grand show, but they cheer nonetheless, and Izuku rushes off to find Hitoshi, warmth already building in his chest. Ochako watches as Izuku rushes off to most likely find more people to shake and tell his exciting news to, and the group quiets down. They were also all excited for the medication to work, mainly because it let them sleep through the night without interruption or blood-curdling screams. Ochako looks around the room, taking in everyone's expression. Everyone seems proud, or happy for him at least, except for Kaminari, who has a shit-eating grin on his face. Ochako watches as he pokes a teasing finger at Todoroki. Why are you blushing so much, man? Todoroki turns a shade darker, which didn't seem possible moments before. Isn't it normal to blush at something like that? We are dating after all. There's a beat of silence. What? Since when? OMG finally. Get it MIDO. Ochako doesn't join in the outburst. Instead, she just stares with her mouth agape. Izuku didn't tell me. It must be a new relationship. Seemingly on the same wavelength, Jiru calls out to the flushed boy. When did you guys finally start dating? About 2 weeks ago. It's silent for another moment. No fucking way that's true. She hears Bakugou mutter under his breath, and for once, she agrees with him. Who confessed first? Mina prods. At this, Todoroki blinks and tilts his head slightly. Nobody confessed. We just kissed, so now we're dating. Oh, sweet child, thinks Ochako mournfully. That's not how it works, babe. He squints his eyes at her. What do you mean? You don't kiss people you don't like. We kissed, so we're dating now. Kaminari is quick to take advantage of the situation, calling attention to him and Shiro at the front of the room. To do, my man. Do you want me to show you something that will make Izuku happy? Everyone should do this to their boyfriends. Todoroki nods, attempting and failing to not look eager. Ochako shares a grimace with Tsu. Okay, watch me. Shiro crouches down so that Kaminari is taller than him, before the blonde cups his cheek gently, rubbing his thumb lightly across the boy's cheek and leaning in slightly. When they're only a few centimeters apart, he whispers, "You hit an eyelash." Todoroki just blinks and Ochako prays that he doesn't believe this BS. An eyelash, Kaminari nods, trying to keep his grin down. It's code for you look beautiful. Mido will definitely be happy if you do that to him. If anything, you should go tell him now. The dual-colored boy hesitantly stands, but seeing the rest of the students cheer him on, he leaves to go find Izuku. Poor Todoroki. As soon as he's out of your sight, the betting begins. I put down 2,000 yen on it, taking Mido at least another week before realizing. I say at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Bakugou scoffs. That rat is denser than a bag of rocks. He won't notice unless Aizawa fucking confesses. Once again, Ochako agrees with the angry blonde, but that doesn't stop her from putting her own 2,000 yen into the betting pile. You're one to talk, Bakugou, she says quietly. Obviously, it wasn't quiet enough. The fuck did you say? Pink cheeks. She just raises her eyebrows, not taking the bait. You clearly wouldn't realize love if it smacked you in the face, so I don't think you can comment on Izuku's obliviousness. Bakugou growls and Ochako knows that if he would have lunged at her already. If not for the fact that Kirishima is leaning into his side, fast asleep. Bakugou seems to notice this too, as he looks down at the redhead and his ears turn red, his face flushing. Ochako just laughs, happy that he can't attack her. She knows she'll have to watch her back after Kirishima wakes up though. Izuku sits on the counter, cheerfully swinging his legs as he takes bites of his breakfast toast. Most of the class has started packing for the upcoming break. But since he has barely anything in his room, Izuku stayed downstairs. After some blissful moments of silence, footsteps make their way toward the kitchen, approaching the happy boy. Izuku looks up, but by the time he does, Shoto is already in front of him. The dual-colored boy places a hand on the counter beside Izuku, leaning very much into his space. Izuku startles, dropping his toast with a yelp as his face turns a bright shade of red. Hi Shoto, he stutters, but the other doesn't respond. Instead, he leans closer, bringing up a hand to cup Izuku's face lightly. His fingertips gently brush over Izuku's skin, leaving trails of heat. See, can I help you? Do you need something? Shoto blinks at him innocently, his face merely centimeters away. No, you had an eyelash. And just as quickly as it started, it's over. Shoto leans back, a small smile playing on his lips as he turns and walks away. Izuku is frozen in his spot for what feels like hours. He stutters, sounding like a broken record. Slowly, he slides off the counter, falling gently into a crouch, face in his hands, elbows propped up against his knees. He doesn't notice the head of bright blonde hair nor the phone videoing his every move. Instead, Izuku groans loudly, practically yelling. What the fuck? Katsuki stares at his ceiling, limbs sprawled out across his bed as he thinks. Kirishima is still on the floor, as he's been for the past hour working on homework. Katsuki imagines the boy's eyebrows furrowed and his one tooth that sticks out when he bites down on his lip in concentration. He has to force the smile off his face at the image. God, he's such an idiot. There's no hate in these words, only admiration. Katsuki frowns at the realization. Instantly, a new memory is brought to the foreground of his mind. You really like him, don't you? MHM. Katsuki groans and throws an arm over his eyes. Why'd he have to go and say that? Idiot. The memory of his racing heartbeat makes Katsuki's race as well. He can feel his face flushing and prays that Kirishima won't notice. The mattress next to his head sinks slightly with someone's weight, and he removes his arm, glaring up at the smiling redhead. God, he has such a pretty smile. You okay, bro? Kirishima's eyebrows are slightly furrowed in concern, not matching his bright smile. His crimson eyes scan Katsuki's face, searching for something. Why are his eyes so goddamn gorgeous? It's not fucking fair. He tilts his head in that adorable way and Katsuki sits up, finally coming to a decision. I think I like you. He speaks in a whisper, but the sharp intake of breath confirms that the other heard just fine. What? In one motion, Katsuki swiftly stands, grabbing Kirishima as he makes his way to the door. The redhead, clearly shocked, allows himself to be dragged to the entryway. Only when Katsuki pulls the door open does he seem to realize what's happening and attempt to resist. As Katsuki desperately tries to shove him out the doorway, Kirishima doesn't budge. Instead, he starts to laugh. It's an incredulous laugh, but a laugh nonetheless, and Katsuki attempts to push him out more forcefully than before. Unfortunately, Kirishima has a few inches on him and is much broader than Katsuki, so he continues to stay put. Finally, the other stops laughing after the pushing becomes noticeably more aggressive, but the smile never leaves his face. Wait, no, I'm not laughing at you. Katsuki scoffs, but he continues as if he'd stayed silent. I like you too. Everything freezes. Kirishima stops resisting. Katsuki stops pushing. It feels as if he's stopped breathing as well. Then, with as much strength as he can muster, he shoves Kirishima while the boy's distracted, and the redhead stumbles back into the hallway. Katsuki slams the door shut.